100,000 sun-drenched fans have gathered at Talladega Superspeedway to see a classic auto race and sweat. Hi everyone, I'm Chris Economaki, and I'm not kidding. The thermometer tells us the temperature already is over 100 degrees on the outside, and climbing in the cars, what is expected to touch 140 degrees before today's race is over. With Sahara-like temperatures, perspiration filling goggles, and heat waves distorting vision, today's DieHard 500 may be more a test of driver than of car. And for more on this hot topic, here's my CBS broadcast colleague, Ken Squire.
Well, thank you, Chris. This is the race that fans talk about all season long. 18 different winners in 20 years. They reminisce about 1984, when after 68 lead changes, Dale Earnhardt became the only driver to ever win this race back-to-back. But what they talk about most are those finishes. Over half of these races have been won by a car length or less. Take last year, for example. 19 cars contending in that final lap. And out of the midst came Ken Schrader for his first Winston Cup victory. It's a race of dark horses and surprises, and there's a dark horse on the pole that could pull a major surprise here this weekend. He's Batesville, Arkansas's Mark Martin, and he's standing by live with Mike Joy.
And Ken, he's dressed in 3 layers of Nomex. The cool suit fluid is already coursing through that vest, and he's hot as we are, but he's hot to go racing. 6 times on the pole this year. This is a track of dark horse winners, of first-time winners. Is it the first time today?
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. You know, we feel real good about it. The Stroh's team has worked hard for this, and I'm real proud of them. And we're going to win one soon. Today may be the day.
The last restricted race at Daytona was almost yours.
Well, this is our last chance with the restrictor plate. You know, Jack and all the guys have worked real hard on this deal, and we know this is our last chance at it this year. With the restrictor plate, we're running good. If we don't get it here, we'll get it next week.
Okay, let's get to it. He'll get in. The odds are against him. Only twice has this race been won from the pole. And the man who's the winningest driver on the whole circuit this season is parked right alongside. He's with Dave Despain.
Only 2 drivers have ever won this race twice. Darrell Waltrip is setting out to become the first man to win 3. Those Fords were so fast here at the last race. Is your Chevy Lumina up to whipping them today?
I think so. We're up here on the front row this time, and we only got beat by a little bit. So we're looking forward to a good race. The car's running a lot better. Randy and Kenny have done a great job on the motor, and Jeff and Sandy done a great job on the car. I'm going to win this thing for my mama. She's been sick all week. Winning for her.
You had this one last year and blew up 30 laps from the finish. This place owe you one?
Well, I've had the best car here on a number of occasions and didn't win. I've got a good car today, and I'm going to try to hang in here. If Mark wants to lead, fine. If Bill wants to lead, fine. I'd like to just keep everybody in sight. I got a lot of horse here, and I'm going to use it at the end.
And he's got no cool suit. Tough guy Darrell Waltrip going from the outside pole. We'll be right back here at Talladega, Alabama with a DieHard 500.
We're waiting for the command to start the engines from Governor Guy Hunt of the state of Alabama for this 188-lap event. Let's join the governor now.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I give you what you've been waiting for this evening. The Governor of Alabama, the Honorable Guy Hunt.
Drivers, start your engines.
Starting grid. On the pole for the 6th time this year is Mark Martin in the 6th car. Darrell Waltrip in the number 17 starts alongside. Darrell Waltrip, the 2-time winner. In row 2, on the inside, 3rd position, Ken Schrader, the 88 winner, and Bill Elliott on the outside, number 9, the 87 winner. In row 3, it's Texas Terry Labonte, who has the best finish in these carburetor plate races in the Junior Johnson car, and Harry Gant has qualified very well in the green and white number 33. Row 4, 7th position is Davey Allison, who's won 2 of these races with carburetor restrictor plates this year. Allison in his Ford and Morgan Shepherd alongside. Going to row number 5, and there you find the 83 and 84 winner, the man in black, Dale Earnhardt. And beside him, his best qualifying mark this year, Kyle Petty, starts in the 10th position. Going to row 6, there you find Phil Parsons, Alan Kowicki. In row 7 today, Rusty Wallace is on the inside, Sterling Marlin along. In row 8, it's Hut Strickland and Rick Wilson. For row 9, it'll be Jimmy Means and Michael Waltrip. In row 10, Derek Cope, Phil Barkdahl. Row 11 today is A.J. Foyt and the 1980 winner, Neil Bonnet. In row 12 will be Ricky Rudd and Joe Rutland replacing Lake Speed. Row 13, Richard Petty starts, the 74 winner, and Dave Marcus is with him there. In row 14, it'll be Jeff Bodine and Dick Trickle. Row 15 this afternoon, Bill Ingram, a new name, and Jimmy Spencer. In row 16, Stan Barrett is back, the Hollywood stuntman, and Mark Stahl from San Diego. Row 17, Mickey Gibbs is back, and Ernie Urban from Modesto, California. In row 18, it's Paddy Moise making a start. And from Daisy Hill, Queensland, Australia, the 5-time Australian champion Dick Johnson. Row 19 is Bobby Hillen, the 86 winner, and Rick Mast. Row 20 today is Brett Bodine and Larry Pearson. Rounding out the field in the 41st starting position is Dale Jarrett. Now, our race cams for today's coverage are with the 7th place starter, Davey Allison, in his Ford. And with Mark Marlin, who will be starting in the 13th position. That is Sterling Marlin starting in the 13th position, and Mark Martin is on the pole. Now let's join our colleague, 50-time Winston Cup winner. Some more comments on this race. Here is Ned Jarrett.
Ken, this is the last race of the 1989 racing season. The carburetor restrictor plates will be used, and most of the drivers and crew chiefs are happy about that. NASCAR mandated the restrictor plate starting in 1988 to reduce speeds for safety reasons here at the Talladega Superspeedway and at the Daytona International Speedway, and certainly they've served that purpose well. A byproduct of the restrictor plates is the fact that engine failures have gone down, but the accident ratio has gone up in these particular events. The cars are running much closer together now than they were without the restrictor plates. Sometimes the driver jockeying for position, trying to get back in line so they can stay in the draft, has caused them to touch at speeds of up to 200 miles an hour. And this has a lot of the drivers concerned. We talked to some of them about it. Here's what they have to say.
Restrictor plate racing has become very, very difficult, and very things happen unexpectedly. Drivers are driving more defensive than ever on a 2.5-mile super speedway, and that means contact, and that means trouble.
What it is, it makes everybody careless. You run along beside somebody and you're trying to pass and there's no place to go, so you just make room. If the cars were running 210 mile an hour, you wouldn't dare do anything like that. So you get a lot of drivers that's not capable of running with a big pack and stuff, and they take chances, and it's just, to me, it makes it a lot more dangerous to run with them.
You're on edge all the time, you know, and you're not just driving your car, you're trying to watch 6 other cars at the same time, and it's a different type of concentration.
Early on, you're forgiving. You give a guy a little room and you let him in, or you back off a little bit and you say, golly, I backed off, I lost 10 spots. Pretty soon you get up there and it gets halfway to 2/3 of the race, you start saying, man, if I back off now and lose 10 spots, I'm going to finish 15th. So as the race progresses along, the intensity picks up, the courtesy decreases, and the first thing you know, you got people running all over each other.
I think what we've done is we slowed them down for safety factors on to protect the fans, and we just moved it on the other side of the fence. The wreck factor is more so than it's ever been, which, I mean, that's just the same for everybody. I'm not complaining, but we're flirting with the big wrecks that could take out 15 and 20 cars in one time. I certainly hope we don't see it, but it's sitting there waiting to happen.
Well, let's do hope that we don't see any of those 10 or 15 car wrecks here today, but one thing we can be sure of, Ken, we will see some good, close, hard racing.
Field in the last lap before they turn them loose. 188 laps the distance on a 2.6-mile track, 500 miles to go. $743,000 at stake. The record for this race, 174-mile-an-hour average by Lenny Pond. Field now into the back straightaway, about 3,000 feet long. Next time through there, over 190 miles per hour.
You know, what Ned had to say carries a lot of weight. At the last carburetor-restricted race at Daytona, there were 10 accidents involving 29 cars and a tremendous amount of financial damage to the equipment.
And already this week, we've had 4 cars damaged that have had to go to the rear of the field. There were 4 cars damaged on Friday afternoon. Those cars were Bobby Hillen, the '84 winner, who had qualified 14th, Larry Pearson, who qualified 18th, Brett Bodine, who really got his bell rung. He had qualified 20th, and Dale Jarrett 26th. They're all in the back of the field as we get ready for a start because they totaled out the cars. And interesting, Bodine says, Brett Bodine, that his car off the truck from the Budmore stables running better than the original car.
That's interesting. All those 4 cars are backup spares. They're not the ones that had been originally planned for the race.
Rick Wilson had a manifold gasket leak this morning. They fixed it and got him out onto the grid just in time, or he would have had to start shotgun on the field. Getting set for a start. 21st annual DieHard 500, Talladega, Alabama. Here they come for the 18-degree banking of the tri-oval, where they can stack them 3 and 4 wide on those finishes. Headed for the 33-degree banking of the first and second turn. Mark Martin, 6 times this year he has been on the pole. He has never qualified worse than 7th, but on the break, it's the Chevrolet Lumina. Waltrip out in front going to turn 1. There you see the break. Waltrip into first. Martin is riding second. There'll be some charging out of the back of the field. Brett Bodine will really do some running. He had qualified well, and he thinks his car can run anywhere with him. There's Brett Bodine, number 15, slicing through cars, the white and red Budmore Ford Thunderbird on the bottom of the racetrack, getting under Patty Moise, moving around Johnson. Here come the leaders down out of turn number 4. Battle on to lead the first lap, and we'll have a different man up in front. Squeezing out in front. Look out. Here comes number 9. Bill Elliott has taken command in lap number 1. And tucking right into second place, the Junior Johnson car with Terry Labonte. Terry Labonte has the best average for finishes in these carburetor restrictor races this year. He's been in the lead lap every time, has yet to win one, but he's always there.
We can see those problems here as Darrell Waltrip got out of line and had to wait till an opening before he could get back in.
Boy, it is so important to stay in line on the tracks where they run the carburetor restrictor plates. You've got to have that car in front of you working with him, stay in the draft. Waltrip did get out of line. Now he has the car up on the outside of him. That's Morgan Shepherd as they come side by side off turn 4.
Davey Allison 3rd, Harry Gant back in 4th. Waltrip falling to 5th. Waltrip had been out practicing yesterday at over 196 miles an hour in a 3-car draft that had been led by Bill Elliott and involved Ken Schrader as well. Working lap 3. Backside Gant into 4th, and Waltrip falling back on the inside.
He just cannot make it down on the inside, Ken. He's got to stay up there in line with the other drivers.
Morgan Shepherd back in 6th. Mark Martin has fallen to 7th.
There you see a couple of other cars. That's Dale Earnhardt in car number 3. And it looks like Phil Parsons in car 55 down on the inside. Sometimes 2 or 3 cars can hook up together on the inside and make passes, but they really do have to work together.
Front of the pack coming by. This front pack has Morgan Shepherd on the tail end.
The front row starters are back there in 5th and 6th places while the Fords are running away.
Working lap 4. See the rest of the field in the first and second turn. Weather has changed a little now. Looks like there may be some rain off the second corner here today.
You were talking about the consistency of Terry Labonte. He and Alan Kowicki are the only drivers to complete all 618 laps that have been run with the restrictor plates this year.
I think Phil Parsons is in that group too. I think he's been up in all of those races. Here you see Davey Allison giving you his view of car number 11. That's in the 3 major races. Back marker scramble continuing there.
And there are 4 drivers, of course, that were in an accident in practice here on Friday, had to use their backup cars, and of course that is the reason for them being in the race.
Including your son, who's having a real lot of problems with that Cale Yarborough car, just not running like the car he originally brought here.
Well, the car that the backup car simply is a short track car and doesn't perform well on a super speedway.
There's Brett Bodine in the number 15. Now that is the car he totaled out. You saw number 38, Dick Johnson, just in front of him, that is running better as a reserve car than the car that they have brought here to run this race. Here's Mike Joy.
Ken, one thing that surprises me is only 20 of the 41 drivers are using the cool suit that recirculates fluid through a vest that they wear underneath their flame-proof racing suit. One of those 20 is Dick Trickle. Trickle, America's winningest driver, says he's going to race till age 70, but he tried the cool suit for the first time at Daytona in July, and he figures, hey, this might give him another 20 years. Here's Dave Despain.
While more than half the drivers have cool suits, only one gas man has a cool suit. Being hooked up right here is David Wolfman Bolin. He'll be gassing Stan Barrett's race car today. This suit does not operate with the fluid cooled by ice running through it. The operative element here is the nitrogen that's actually in the compressed bottles that runs the air guns, and it circulates through the suit and keeps him a nice, cool, comfortable 20 degrees inside, and that's a neutral gas, and the advantage there is that it's actually flame retardant. You're going to stay cool today, aren't you, Wolfman?
Yes, sir, I sure am. This thing is really nice.
Have a good day today. One gas man with a cool suit on pit road, and he'll need it.
Looks like a 60 San Francisco flower child out there. Battle up in front has Elliott in first, and now Davey Allison has dropped back into fourth. Action just underway in the DieHard 500 live on CBS. Phil Parsons, first victim of the DieHard 500, being rolled back now very slowly.
That team has hired Robbie Moroso for next year. A big chance for this young sportsman driver. The fans in the stands are going wild now as Davey Allison challenges for the lead. He's replaced Bobby Allison in their hearts, and everybody is cheering for the driver number 28, the hometown star.
And here you are in that contest for first position. We're working lap number 9. Davey Allison in front for the moment. Waltrip in second. Terry Labonte down in third. I believe you're going to see Morgan Shepherd in fourth here as you're getting this beautiful view from Davey Allison's car. Here's Bill Elliott up to fourth. Morgan Shepherd in fifth.
Elliott wants to make a move as he goes into turn 1. Let's see how smart it is as he moves down to the inside. Let's see if he can make it stick.
You're riding live with Davey Allison looking out the rear of his car. And here you see the red number 9 of Bill Elliott down at the bottom of the racetrack. They run out of steam right there.
It must be an exercise in frustration for these drivers that waiting to go into action and then finding their car just won't give them what they want.
A new leader. Waltrip around Allison, and the Chevrolet goes back in front of the Ford.
That car is strong, Ken. He dropped back at the beginning of the race and now has worked his way back up to the front. He has a lot of horsepower.
And you heard him say, he was quoted in the papers, I'm going to win this race. I'm going to win it for Margaret Waltrip, his mother, who suffered a stroke last Saturday. Owensboro, Kentucky. She's at the Owensboro Davis Hospital watching this race today as her son, Darrell Waltrip, tries to conquer this 2.6-mile high banks. Oh,
trouble.
Car in trouble. Elliott spinning once, twice, looping down to the inside.
Yellow flag is out.
Just touches the wall. Yellow is out. This happening in the 11th lap as they came to the line.
Well, a tough break for one of the fellas that was among the favorites to win this DieHard 500. Now, maybe he still would have a chance of it, but he'll certainly have a lot of catching up to do.
Caution coming out as they race to the line. Waltrip in first, Davey Allison second, Terry Labonte third, Morgan Shepherd fourth, Kyle Petty fifth, Mark Martin sixth, Schrader seventh, Harry Gannon eighth across the line. Yellow on first time.
And it doesn't appear as if there's too much damage to Elliott's car. I don't think he hit anything, so he might be able to put 4 new tires on it and continue.
He just got some grass between the wheels and the tires.
Yeah. I think it looked like he had the air sucked out from under that car. He was down there trying on the inside, and it got away.
Yeah,
that turn 4 is very difficult. Darrell Waltrip was telling me about where you want to pit on this racetrack. He said, be awfully careful if you're going to pit on the top end of pit road here, because if you do, you get off that corner, he says, it gets you a little loose anyway. anyway, and he says you don't think about it, you can get in awfully hard. This was not a pit stop situation, but 4 is tricky. Well, that many cars running. We'll see what happened here with car number 9, Elliott. The pits are closed.
His windshield is missing. His windshield is out of the car.
And that happens many times. When a car turns around, you have the pressure from the inside that'll blow the windshield out. And of course, they can replace that very quickly. They'll have one in there. Let's take a look at how it did happen. You can see him down on the inside. He's fighting for the 5th position. And Ken, you're right. The air was just sucked out from under the rear of the car, and he went into a spin. You can see the windshield. The first time he spun around, flew out of the car. He spins around on the grass, down on the inside, and just barely makes contact with that dirt bank down on the inside.
From inside Sterling Marlin's car, let's take another look at what happened to Bill Elliott, defending Winston Cup champion. Watch this.
Well, you can see Elliott come out of the pack up in front of Sterling Marlin. Sterling Marlin was blinded momentarily by the smoke, and then he goes on by the spinning car of Bill Elliott as he gets down on the grass and into that inside retaining wall.
I'm always reminded of what Buddy Baker said. They're waiting on the 9 car to come in after he made a save like that one time out of turn 4. Congratulated him afterward for his great save. He says it's amazing what you can do with your eyes closed. Here's Dave Despain.
Bill Elliott just went screaming past his pit area. Dan Elliott is on the radio. We'll see if we can get a word from Dan as to what happened. Why did he go by, Dan?
We're trying to get everything we need up, the windshield and everything, so we wanted to go on around where we could get time to get it in and get back out on the racetrack.
So you just didn't have the pieces ready for the stop?
Not yet.
Have you assessed what all the damage might be?
No, that's another thing we wanted to look at was what was wrong with the car and gave us a pretty good idea of what we needed to do.
So the purpose of the pit stop was to get a look at the car, figure out exactly what they need, get all the pieces, then bring him in and fix it. Let's go down pit road to Mike Joy.
Dave, I'm back in the garage area where Phil Parsons hardly had a chance to get his cool suit hooked on and running today. What put you out?
Well, Mike, you know, we came here to win the race, and we probably ran the engine a little closer as far as timing and jetting than we would have liked to have, and I guess it bit us. It probably burned a piston. That's due to being too lean. So, but we're here to win the race. You know, we weren't here to just ride around and finish. So, you know, my hat's off to the guys. They did all they could do. It just bit us this time.
Well, you've won here. You've been on your roof here. Is this going to make it a long week waiting for the next chance to come and get even?
Well, it really is. That's the thing. We've been really creeping up in points over the last several weeks and had some good runs, had a good run at Daytona, so we knew we had a good car, a good engine, and a good crew to do well today. We had a shot, really, I think, to win the race. But by what we did in practice yesterday, it's too early to say, you know, what's going to happen in the race because I only ran 3 or 4 laps, so I didn't even get a feel for it. But, you know, we'll have to come and get him next time.
We just had a hard crash on pit road. This is Jimmy Spencer's car, which ran over Darrell Waltrip. I mean, ran over him. He went up in the air. Waltrip is coming by with the right rear quarter panel bent up against the tire. Incredible incident. Here's Dave Despain.
Bill Elliott has come on pit road. It was his spin that triggered this incident. They've changed the right side tires. They now go to the left, and it appears the only major mechanical fix they'll have to make is to the windshield. While the tire changing and fuel crew are at work, there is no opportunity for them to work on the windshield because of the limitation on the number of men who can come across the wall. Some sheet metal damage to the left rear corner. They are at work on that now. They've cleaned the grass away from the grill. Remember, it was a week ago at Pocono that Elliott blew a tire on the first lap, came in, fixed it, came from dead last to win the race. But this is going to be a little more difficult than that. He will need a windshield.
Here is Darrell Waltrip's car. You can see the damage here that he sustained, and let's look at what happened on pit road, this most unusual circumstance.
Well, you can see the pit road is very crowded. Darrell Waltrip already has his service, and he started out. He and Davey Allison and Jimmy Spencer in the blue car comes down, hits Waltrip. You can see the front end of Spencer's car go up in there. He spins into the grass, but a lot of damage to the right rear quarter panel of Darrell Waltrip's car. Of course, he'll have to come back in, give up a lot of track position, but also it's going to hurt the aerodynamics of that race car.
There's going to be a lot of discussion after the race as to whose fault that was, whether that was Spencer's fault or Waltrip's fault. They were 3 wide on pit road there.
Let's take a look at it again so the folks at home can make an assessment of what happened here under caution on pit road. The This is what just happened on pit road as we're watching live from it. This is how it all began.
Okay, we see Davey Allison in the white car coming out on the inside, Darrell Waltrip in the orange car on the outside, trying to beat each other out. Jimmy Spencer in the blue car trying to get into the pits, and he was hit by Darrell Waltrip. So you're right, Chris, it's hard to determine who was actually at fault. Of course, those drivers coming out of the pits sometimes they say has the right of way of those coming down pit road, but Jimmy Spencer was trying to get into his pits.
Waltrip is on pit road. You're watching this live now. They're working on the rear of his car, number 17, the Chevy Lumina. Here's Mike.
They're working on the right rear of Darrell Waltrip's car. The tire is shredded, and it shows evidence of heavy contact with the fender well. It's the right rear of the car. We don't have the best view of it from here on the left side of pit wall, but now you're seeing it as they hammer and pull away and snip away pieces of that fender. Talladega is the fastest track on the NASCAR surface. These cars spend hours in the wind tunnel trying to fine-tune the shapes and hone the aerodynamics. Any upset such as this will diminish Waltrip's chances to win. I don't think he'll be able to lead the race with a damaged car, but certainly he can stay in the draft to be able to run with the front runners if they can get him back out. Last week at Pocono, though, a similar incident which bent up the fender well in Dale Jarrett's car, allowed carbon monoxide in and almost put Jarrett out of the race. So Waltrip will be a question mark from here on. They need to get him back out here without losing a lap.
We'll return with more live coverage of the DieHard 500 after this message and a word from your local station. After 14 laps complete, Jimmy Means from Alabama originally. Smut Means is out in front. And right behind him comes Patty Moise. Remember, she started way back 36. Then comes the Australian Johnson, Gibbs, and Davey Allison in fifth as they get ready to resume.
Those first four cars did not pit. All the other cars in the field have pitted.
Out in back, Waltrip, Elliott, involved in incidents here. Light is off on the pace car, about to come in. There are 15 laps complete, 16 when they come to the line this time.
A new rule, Ken, on a restart, they must do any passing that they do before they get to the start-finish line on the right side. So let's see if they all do it.
Here they are coming down for the flag from Harold Kinder. Pass only on the right, and here's Wilson going all the way to the top of the track, up in the marbles as he tries to get around, and they are away. Looking out the back of the field, pretty good start with this new rule.
Yes, it worked well in Pocono, Pennsylvania last week, but look, 3 wide in the first turn.
Back straight away. Jimmy Means is out in front. Boy, he had one of the worst wrecks of his career on this racetrack, and having just a great start. Patty Moise into second. She ran a terrific race in the Automobile Racing Club of America preliminary event yesterday. Here she is getting passed by Davey Allison. That's the Patty Moise car. She ran up in the top 5 for a long, long time. Then late in the race, got caught in the pits, caution flag condition, got a lap down, later spun as she ran out of fuel trying to get on this pit road, which is tricky.
There's Jimmy Spencer coming back in the pits. That blue car we saw coming into the pits, he was involved in that pit accident.
Davey Allison leads. Morgan Shepherd second. Here's Dave Despain.
Jimmy Spencer is in for a second attempt to repair the left front corner of the car. That's where the contact was made with Darrell Waltrip. Crew is frantically trying to bend the metal away from the left front tire. That seems to be the primary concern. The components under there appear to still be functional, but the potential for rubbing the tire was the problem. We asked them what happened. What did Jimmy Spencer say on the radio? The quote was, "Darrell hit us," unquote. Let's go to Mike Joy down pit road.
Jeff Hammond is Darrell Waltrip's crew chief. How's your race car?
Well, Mike, right now it's a little hard to tell. It's hurt a little bit, but I hope it's not too bad to be able to get back up there and, get back in the thrash, because, I mean, the car was running so good. And, you just seen a rookie make a rookie mistake come down the pit road. It's way too fast and just run all over us.
How about his lap time, Jeff? Is he back up to speed?
Well, that's what it was like 55 something other, but let me check this next lap. 50-17 the last lap. It looks like everything may be okay. We could do a little bit more work back, and I think we can help ourselves. So I think we're going to be okay.
Waltrip struggles to remove back up for the pack of the pack. Let's go to Dave Despain.
Waltrip Spencer, as he was stopped here, as they were pounding on the metal, they appear to have punctured the radiator or perhaps the coolant tank. There was spray everywhere. The engine died, and Jimmy Spencer's going to be here a while.
Waltrip has moved up 10 positions in his quest. Meanwhile, up in front, as they come around a complete 19th laps. Morgan Shepherd is first, and back to second comes Mark Martin.
Who would think, Dan, that a ripple in a fender would affect a lap time by several 100ths of a second and take your chances of victory away from a driver? That's how critically important body shape is in this form of racing.
On the charge is Waltrip. He is knocking down cars as he tries to get back up in this cluster, battling for the lead. Morgan Shepherd out in front. He has been tremendously consistent in these races at Talladega and Daytona. 3 previous events this year, right up in the hunt each time. And there you see Mark Martin in the number 6. Now here's 17, Waltrip, bombarding up through the pack as he tries to get back into this thing.
Yes, Phil Barkdahl in car number 73 trying to draft him up through there, and you'll see that a lot of those that were not running as fast, when they see a fast car like this come along, they'll try to pick up the draft on him.
His wife looking on here. He's got A.J. Foyt directly in front of him, and Harry Gant down on the inside, Richard Petty, and now they've got him in the pocket. Let's see what Waltrip can do. He made a move and went down on the apron going into turn number 1 to take 3 cars a lap ago. He's fired up, wants to move through, but right now he's got to cool it just a little here.
Well, you can see Bill Elliott also down on the inside, right behind Richard Petty, trying to make his way. He's doing it on the inside. Waltrip up high as they come off of turn 2.
Spencer says goodbye. Mr. Excitement out behind the fence there, and they're going to have to work on that car for a while. Morgan Shepherd stays first. Mark Martin stays second. Davey Allison third. Clyde Bolton, from Mark Martin's camera here. Clyde Bolton, the Birmingham News, has said it best. As you saw this young man, as he's about to get into his car, he said when he is about to get into a car, he looks like Eddie Arcaro. When he hits the starter button, he's King Kong. Taking a look at lap speed this time around. See what they're doing up in front. Shepherd, Martin, Allison. Schrader has come up to 4th. Kyle Petty is 5th, having a great run. There goes Davey down to the inside, moving under Mark Martin. And here comes Ken Schrader, bringing that Chevy Lumina up a spot out of the Hendrick Racing stables.
Schrader's last year's winner of this race and hasn't won a race since then, and he's hungry for number 2.
Morgan Shepherd peels off, and look at that car just wig-wag a little going into number 1.
Of course, that's what happens when you get other cars around you. It's almost impossible to keep them in a straight line.
To the tri-oval, banked 18 degrees. Looks like well over 100,000 here today. 49.8 in the last lap, Chris. That's a pretty remarkable time.
They're really going. They're getting more and more out of these cars despite the carburetor restrictor plates. They're finding out now that where you run on the track has a bearing on fuel mileage. We'll have to look at about 36 to 38 laps is when 100 miles, that's a lot of fuel tank out. Of course, we've had that yellow flag where cars were refueled. But when you're up front, there's more air going into the carburetor and they're taking more gasoline with it. So the leading car does not get the fuel mileage the cars immediately behind get. That was a lesson learned only earlier this month.
Into second place. Schrader on the inside, drops it down in there. And as they come around, you have Morgan Shepherd first. Now Ken Schrader in second and challenging with 23 laps now complete. 4 laps. These were the standings in the DieHard 500 live this afternoon here on CBS. Schrader was in first, Davey Allison second, Morgan Shepherd third, Mark Martin fourth, Kyle Petty was in the 5th spot, Terry Labonte then in 6th, Sterling Marlin 7th, Kowicki was in 8th, Earnhardt 9th. Now here's the interval between the front pack and the second pack of automobiles out here this afternoon. And then behind that pack, there is a third pack now being led by the 17th place car, which is Darrell Waltrip. And he has a lot of making up to do. Notice this between the second pack and the third pack. That car just going into turn number 1 is Waltrip. A couple positions back from there is car number 9, Bill Elliott. So they're looking for caution so they can clamber back up through, Chris.
When Schrader took the lead a little bit ago, it was the 9th time in this race that the lead had changed.
There's the 3 intervals, the 3 packages that we have of racing on this 2.6 mile track at the present time. Working the 27th of 188 laps. From Sterling Marlin, challenging Kyle Petty. We've got trouble. Out of turn 4.
Jeff Bodine, Michael Waltrip, Rusty Wallace. Car number 10 of Derek Cope. Neil Bonnet was down on the grass.
Could be more to come.
Darrell Waltrip, he just barely misses it. Here comes the other cars. They don't know whether to go high or low. There's so much smoke out there.
Rusty Wallace, the front end, tattered badly on that one. His shot in the point standings. Really in trouble here. Jimmy Means. Oh, that's unfortunate for Jimmy Means, who's had a good run here today. Michael Waltrip's car badly thrashed and on fire. They're taking him out, or trying to get him out of the car right at the entrance to pit road. The Bahari Racing Team car, Mike Waltrip.
Well, this is what the drivers are concerned about. This infighting, this close competition leads to this type of accident.
5 cars involved. Waiting on Rusty Wallace here in the 27 car.
Rusty's car got it at both ends, it looks like.
Yes, it does, and I'm sure that Rusty's probably sitting in there and hoping that the wrecker will come and get him to his pits very quickly so he can get that thing repaired, try to get back out there, and if there's any way humanly possible to get that car back on the racetrack, you can rest assured they'll do so.
A quick report from Mike Joy.
I'm with Harold Elliott, the team manager for Rusty Wallace. Have you talked to him?
Yeah, he's okay. Mike, he said that Jeff spun out in front of the whole field up there, and he just wadded it up.
How's your race car, though? Can it be fixed?
No, he said it's total, it's destroyed. We're going to look at it, but he said it didn't look good.
Well, that makes a very short day for the man who's second in the Winston Cup points and who hoped to win his first title this season.
Replay. Turn 4.
Well, Jeff Bodine in the yellow car on the left of your screen coming off of turn 4, and you can see the car breaks loose all of a sudden right in front of a big pack. That's that Dale Earnhardt going by, and then he clips Michael Waltrip in the car number 30, Rusty Wallace. Here comes Jimmy Means in the blue car getting involved. There's Derek Cope in car number 10. You see Neil Bonnet way down on the bottom of your screen. I don't think he was involved. He just cut down to the inside. You can see him now coming off of the grass. I think he got through the wreck okay.
Ned, could you call that driver error?
Well, I don't know. No, I don't think so. Something maybe happened. It looked like he might have cut a right rear tire or something of that nature because the back end went out from under it so quickly.
There wasn't anybody alongside, and it would make you think that he had the car pulled out from beneath him. Pit road remains closed. Of course, these damaged cars are, some of them pretty tattered. One coming down pit road right now. That's Stan Barrett.
Well, we didn't see Stan up there, but he was involved in it. You can see the damage to the front end of his car. There were a total of 6 drivers that were involved. Of course, we saw the Jeff Bodine car, Michael Waltrip, Rusty Wallace, Jimmy Means, Derek Cope, and Stan Barrett.
Well, we said earlier that at Daytona on the 1st of July there were 10 accidents involving 29 cars. That total may well be exceeded today.
Here's Dave Despain.
We're with Waddell Wilson, Jeff Bodine's crew chief, engine builder. What happened? What did he say on the radio?
Well, he just said it set up some, we're all messed up now, and I looked, and about that time he was headed at us with the front end all mashed in, and he just got out of the car and threw up his hands and, like in disgust, and but he's okay, and I know he's very disheartened that we're out of the race this early.
That car's been pretty well beat up a time or two before, hasn't it? You've had trouble with that thing.
Well, this is the car that we had at Daytona, and we tore it up down there the latter part of the race, and, and we worked real hard to get it to come back here. We didn't have it to like 100%, but now we've got it tore up again.
Okay, Waddell Wilson, as his car comes by behind us, Jeff Bodine's machine indeed is a mess one more time as the number 5 car is out of the race along with its driver, Jeff Bodine.
The major off-track story at Talladega this week has surrounded Rusty Wallace and his attempt to sever his relationship with team owner Raymond Beadle. Our Mike Joy took an in-depth look at that controversy.
It just goes to show you, stay digging, you don't give up, you get it, buddy. That's what we're doing now.
Rusty Wallace, almost last year's and maybe this year's Winston Cup champion, wants out. Wallace has asked a Charlotte court to issue a declaratory judgment that would cancel Blue Max Racing's option to keep him behind the wheel in 1990. Wallace alleges team owner and former drag racing champion Raymond Beadle has breached the contract by making late payments.
I say I'm free for 1990, and Raymond says I'm not. He says that I have a contract, and I say I don't. And we're just coming to a dead end. It's just we're both butting our heads against the wall, trying to figure out who's right or who's wrong.
Beadle contends that since Wallace has been paid up to date and continues to race Beadle's car, the contract remains in force.
They have a valid contract, which is good through November 30th of 1990, and Raymond knows what the contract's all about, and so does Rusty, and that's basically all there is to it. Raymond's concern, unfortunately, is that why would you void a contract because you've had a better offer to go across the street? And that's basically what it's boiled down to.
Rusty wants his own race team, but it's strongly rumored that Roger Penske, who gave Wallace his first Winston Cup ride, would back the new team, bringing along one of Roger's major IndyCar racing sponsors.
I'm not going to say Roger Penske's involved in this because right now he's not involved in it. And as far as a lawyer, I have no knowledge that my lawyers ever had anything to do with Roger Penske.
Wallace pilots his own plane and wants to chart his own career course. This isn't about money, but there is a lot at stake.
Rusty's been paid. Rusty was paid over $900,000 last year, over $1 million, right at $1 million rather. So Rusty's certainly been paid what's owed him.
Well, it's not money. I can promise you that. It's not money. I'm making money right now that satisfies me. I'm not a spoiled kid trying to get $4 or $5 million a year.
The controversy surrounding this issue has rippled through the garage area all weekend, and it's affected Rusty's team's pursuit of their goal, racing to win.
You wonder why it has to happen, when it looks like everything's going so well. But, there's been little problems here and there, like there is on every race team. It's got its conflicts, its inner struggles. This team's no different.
I ask myself a lot of times if all this is necessary right now. And, to me, being in the middle of a championship run, I believe I'd have waited. But, it wasn't up to me.
Wallace has the closest knit, maybe best running team in the garage area, and doesn't want to upset that special relationship.
I don't think this is going to affect the team. It's not going to affect my driving, and I really don't think it's going to affect the team. We're currently second in Winston Cup point standings right now. It's my goal to win the championship, and that's everything's behind me. And so I'm not going to let this little discrepancy between myself and a car owner, which I hardly ever see, get in the way of this race team.
Contract disputes are nothing new in NASCAR. Darrell Waltrip once had a widely publicized, messy divorce from the now-defunct DieHard team. But on this subject, Waltrip was uncharacteristically closed-mouthed.
Listen, I don't have any comment about that. I don't want to get involved in that. I fought my battle, and as I said before, I fought the law, and the law won.
The law may decide on Wallace versus Blue Max, but no matter who Rusty drives for, he's decided one thing.
I'll never sign a contract that says option. I'll never, ever use the word that says option. And if any race drivers listen to this thing, don't do it.
Rusty Wallace, who says he races his guts out for the fans, says it's just a business deal, has nothing to do with this race. His car's headed for the garage area. They're going to make repairs. Behind me, Bill Elliott's just completed his pit stop, where Ernie changed the angle of the rear spoiler, making it a little steeper to add more downforce in the corner, and measuring the exact angle so they know just where they stand. Let's go back upstairs.
Thank you, Mike. 158 laps to go. Let's take a look at a replay from Robin Pemberton, the crew chief's point of view on Mark Martin's car number 6 just moments ago. They had the pits closed for 3 laps, let them all in. Take a look at this tire change.
Well, you can see how quickly he does it, and then, of course, he goes around to the other side to change the left side tires. The camera's mounted on his head. Changes both front tires on a 4-tire change.
And he's away. Still very much in this race. Mark Martin, several of the key players are out with 30 laps now complete. 32 as they come by. You can see it there on the flag stand.
It's Mark Stahl,
California driver. And the leader in this race is Bill Ingram.
Just a moment ago he was, but he came in the pits.
Now he's on pit road. There you see him. For just a moment, this car led. This is a new guy in Winston Cup racing. And what a story about how he got here.
Henry Gray owns the car that Bill Ingram is driving. They didn't think that they could get enough speed out of the engine that they had, and so they searched around to try to find a set of heads that would give them more power.
They're expensive.
Yeah, they are. They had a 51 Ford, an antique, very nice car that's worth a lot of money. They called Larry McClure of the Morgan McClure team that Rick Wilson drives for and said, hey, could you do some trading with us? He said, bring the car on up here. They loaded it on a flatbed truck, took it to Abingdon, Virginia, traded the 51 Ford for a set of heads and a camshaft and a used set of pistons, hauled all of that back in the cab. The 51 Ford was left up there with Larry McClure, but it did get him in the race, and that had the distinction of leading this race.
Picked up 5 bonus points. Here's Mike Joy with Jimmy Means.
Jimmy had your best ever Talladega start, got up and led this race, and now looks like it'll be your worst ever Talladega finish.
Well, you know, with these restrictor plates, everybody's close together. It looked like Bodine just crossed up. There wasn't nowhere for anybody to go. I went through the grass, thought I was going to miss it, but you know, I was trying to drive it backwards. I guess I drove it into the wall. But we're okay, and Alcacel's fun. It can be back.
Well, now hindsight's 20/20, but if you'd started 55th and been running back with that car, with those cars,
well, you know, we got a good sponsor, and you got to try to put your name up front, and probably, you know, you look back, you know, and say, well, if I could stay at the back, try to stay in the lead lap, I'd have been around at the end of the race and didn't do the deal. But you know, it makes you look better when you're up front, and that's what we're here to do.
Well, and he had it up front here for a brief moment, but it's now brought him to the garage. There are a bunch of littered cars here. Mike Waltrip's crew is fixing his car, hoping to get him back out. Derek Cope's car is all torn up. So too is Stan Barrett, Rusty Wallace, and Jeff Bodine.
32 laps on the scoreboard, gentlemen, and there's a single file line out there, which means everyone is in the lead lap.
Allison brings them down from the start. Alan Kowicki in second. Green is on. On the break, Bobby Hill in his third. Dick Trickle is fourth. Mark Martin fifth. Terry Labonte sixth. And we're away. Back under green. 33 complete. 2 cautions thus far.
Davey Allison out to a good lead. He got a good start. Alan Kowicki dropping back.
Already 2 wins this season and a 25th place finish after he rolled over and kept on going at Daytona for Davey Allison. There's the pit stops under caution. Davey Allison came in first, comes out first after they changed some positions around under caution. Ken Schrader came in second, comes back on the track 7th, as you see, sorting them out. Here's Allison out in front. Red Farmer down there working with him today, who's been racing himself for over 40 years. Red is a guy that ran in the ARCA race yesterday and has been part of that Allison gang for a long time. I like what he says. He says, it works out very well working for Davey. I taught Davey everything he knows, and now Davey helps me to remember it. Here's Davey looking back at Alan Kowicki in that second spot. Davey Allison says having his dad's guidance has really been the big factor and the great inspiration in his life.
He's done so much for me by owning the race cars that I drove when I began, and by working with him and traveling with him and learning from him and using his equipment, all the support that he gave me over the years. I don't think there's any way you could really place a figure amount on it.
Watching it live as Davey gets caught a little on the outside here and falls back 3 positions. Terry Labonte moving into car number 11. Mark Martin going to the front. Batesville, Arkansas campaigner, 4-time ASA champion. Here he is out in front. In that 3rd position, Ken Schrader. You have Fords 1st and 2nd. What a remarkable job Martin has done this year. He has yet to qualify worse than 7th on the campaign. Car number 66, that's Rick Mast of the Travis Carter car, going back behind the wall. That's the car that had such an outstanding run at Daytona.
Rick won a Busch Grand National race last night in Dublin, Virginia, but out of this race here today.
Coming by to complete 36 laps, and Martin seeking his first Winston Cup victory ever. 6 drivers have done it in this race. I'd like to add his name to the list. Schrader did it a year ago. From Davey Allison's view, there is the man that won it 1 year ago, just in front. Full speed over 190 miles per hour in the back straightaway. And overhauling, Martin pinned on the outside. Labonte going out in front for the first time today. Terry Labonte, who moves on in 1989 to another team, presumably his own.
It looks like, Ned and Ken, that there's some mini slingshotting going on with the carburetor plates.
Yes, there is. And we saw some of that at Daytona, and they're able to do it here today. You got to have a lot of horsepower to do it, and sometimes you got to have someone working with you. But getting yourself positioned exactly right on the racetrack so that you can build the momentum to go around, and that's exactly what Terry Labonte did.
The Pontiac of Morgan Shepherd lies 4th and stays right in the hunt all the way as it did at Daytona on the Firecracker 400. Here's Mike.
Ken, his garage area has become $1 million junkyard, and one of the inmates is Mike Waltrip. What happened in that big mess?
Well, I just talked to Jeff over at the hospital, and he lost his car and spun out. He doesn't know if he got tapped or if the wind did it. It's really difficult to tell, and if he don't know, I know I don't know. I just know he started spinning in front of me. I had nowhere to go. I tried to dodge him, but my little country time post Pontiac wound up into the back of him.
I know the air seems to be lifting off a lot of the back of these cars. You can get behind somebody, move them around a bit. Bill Elliott spun. Now Jeff Bodine spun. Was your car awful loose? Did it work on that YouTube?
Well, when we first started out under the green, it was perfect. And the further we went, we didn't change tires. And it began to jump around. 20-degree minimum spoiler isn't really enough. And everybody wants to run as least as they can. And the cars get a little bit loose under that circumstance. Sounds like somebody else has had some problems too. But, you know, the main thing is the restrictor plate. They slow us down and put us in a mess.
Your mom's up in the hospital. I know you want to say hi.
Yeah, this is about the last way I wanted to do it. But, Mom, I love you, and I'll be home to see you tomorrow.
Mike Waltrip in the garage early.
And Darrell Waltrip back in 12th position, skimming through automobiles on the bottom of the racetrack. Remember, he was in an early incident, and here comes Darrell trying to win it for his mama here in the DieHard 500.
Mike Waltrip was talking about the spoiler angle. The viewers may not understand that. The more the spoiler is laid down, the faster the car will go, but with less stability. The more you stand it up, it gives it bite and stability, but it slows the forward motion down.
And you can see the spoiler we're talking about is on the back of Darrell Waltrip's car. As we look at it, 20 degrees is the minimum, as Michael Waltrip mentioned, that NASCAR will allow. Now, they can put it up as high as they want to, but as he says, the higher you put it, the slower that you run on the straightaway. Now, many of the drivers and team owners would like to see them go to a spoiler rule and stand that spoiler up a little bit more to slow them down, as opposed to the carburetor restrictor plate that they're currently using. NASCAR certainly will evaluate the situation during the winter before the Daytona 500 next February, and we'll see what does come of it.
Waltrip moving underneath Bobby Hillin. Here he is into turn number 1. Sterling Marlin giving us these wonderful pictures. There you see some of the air ducting they've added. Take a look at the temperature in there right now. Not that bad. It's only about 100 degrees. Looks like they've got that problem licked. Davey Allison stays first, but the guy into second is Morgan Shepherd. He's doing a great job out there now with that Pontiac, just like he did in July down at the beach. Here's Mike Joy.
Well, Ken had another $100,000 and a little bit of class to our junkyard here in the garage, but Patty Moise didn't crash out of this race. What happened to your car?
Well, we had to change a motor this morning, and we think there's something internally wrong with it. We kept, kept going up. We nearly pegged it. The temperature gauge goes to 340, and it was like at 320. Way too hot. We were afraid we'd just scatter it.
How about yourself? How hot is it out there?
Been trying to pace myself on my cool suit. I kept just turning it on and for a couple laps and then turning it back off. So really, I was in pretty decent shape. I'm just sorry that we had to bring the Amway Freedom Fuel additive Buick back in the garage and park early today.
Patty Moise.
Thanks.
There's a racer. You're going to hear a lot more from Patty Moise.
Yeah, she does a great job.
Davey Allison in first, Morgan Shepherd in second, Ken Schrader is in third. 41 laps are complete in the 21st running of the $740,000 DieHard 500. Race summary is sponsored by Quaker State Motor Oil, where the big Q stands for quality. After 115 of the 500 miles, 10 leaders, 16 lead changes. With a couple of cautions, it's been slowed down to 133 miles per hour. 9 cars are reported out of the race at the present time. And here's how the attrition looks in the early going. Phil Parsons first out, Jeff Bodine, Derek Cope, Rusty Wallace. They're trying to get his car back. Jimmy Means, Michael Waltrip, Stan Barrett having retired, and Patty Moise with an engine problem. Taking a look at our leaders after completed some 43 laps. Davey Allison is in first. Morgan Shepherd's Pontiac in second behind that Ford. Then the Chevrolet is in third. And it's Terry Labonte, Mark Martin wrapping up that top 5. Bill Elliott is back in 17th position at the present time, moseying through the field. Here you see him in number 9. Bill Elliott on a roll, and Darrell Waltrip has pulled up as well. Waltrip is now in 7th position for his problems early on. There you see him just in front of Dale Earnhardt.
Okay,
both of those drivers had trouble. Elliott spun. And Waltrip got run into from behind by Jimmy Spencer. And Waltrip's car may not be aerodynamically perfect, but he's making the most of it out there now. He is ahead of Bill Elliott by a few positions.
And from that picture, you can get a little idea about the interval between that first pack of cars and Waltrip, again, trying to clamber up through the standings.
Certainly a real testament to his driving ability and his crew for getting that car back in shape after that pit road melee that had him in trouble. Morgan Shepherd now leading this race. And Ken, he's one driver and his crew that likes to run the restrictor plates. He has run well in every one of the races where the restrictor plates are in use.
Why?
I don't know. Evidently, Bob Rahilly, who is the engine builder for that team, has found something as far as the restrictor plates are concerned. And Morgan Shepherd likes to run close. He likes to drive the wheels off of a race car. And so all of that combined, I guess, helps him run it.
Not only on weekends is Morgan Shepherd on wheels, but he's an accomplished roller skater. And he likes those little wheels, and he does that as his avocation.
Here's Morgan in front. Did a great job at Daytona. Just had trouble with the flag, or he might have been the man to take that Pontiac home. Here's Schrader in that second spot, bearing down. 47 laps are complete. Labonte lies third. He's having a great run. Martin, the pole sitter, stays there in fourth. And Kyle Petty, former winner of the 600 at Charlotte, lies fifth in the field. Ned asked Ken Schrader if he felt added pressure here in Talladega as defending champion, and if his lack of winning success in '89 is causing problems.
You know, the pressure's on us every week when we come into these racetracks, just because the competition's so intense. But being last year's champion doesn't carry much weight here this year.
Has it surprised you that you haven't won since then?
Well, it's sure disappointed us. I wouldn't say it hasn't surprised us, because I know if you're not 100%, you're not going to win. There's been a lot of races we weren't 100%. That we're working awful hard towards rectifying that, and I think we're going to get it done here real soon.
Well, here are the leaders. Davey Allison, who had been leading, has now fallen back into sixth position. And from the 28 car to the 17th car, which is running in seventh, is about 2 3/100ths of a second. There you see Waltrip, and he's now running by his lonesome. He's drawn away from the pack.
It's amazing. He's ahead of drivers like Dale Earnhardt and Alan Kowicki, who have not had any trouble so far today. So Mr. Waltrip is really up to the occasion, bringing a car that isn't quite right up into the top 10. He was way back in 19th place not too many laps ago.
With more on the restrictor plate story, let's go to Mike Joy.
Bob Rahilly is co-owner and engine builder of the Morgan Shepherd car, and it seems the three cars in front here are the same three that were up front at Daytona in the last restrictor plate. So, Bob, what have you guys found about restrictor plate racing that's put Morgan out front these last two in a row?
Well, we've worked real hard on the restrictor plate motors, and I'm real proud of the team, the engine department, but that's also a very good race car aerodynamically. And it takes a combination of both, and Morgan's doing a real good job like he always does. So just coming together for us. I'm real proud of everybody.
But what have you found under the hood? Is it heads, intake, carburetor, what?
We've done a lot of work on the intake manifold. A lot of work on the manifold.
I think that's what we'll hear up and down pit road. Let's check with Dave Despain.
The Ford team seemed to get a head start on the restrictor problem, and part of the reason is Jack Roush. He's the team manager, owns the team for Mark Martin, who sat on the pole today. He develops intake parts for the Ford Motor Company. He found an answer, gave it to the other Ford teams. Everybody else showed up at Daytona with that manifold, and NASCAR thought, well, maybe we ought to ban this, but since everybody's got it now, we'll let it run legally. Now, Junior Johnson's outfit, that of course would be Terry Labonte's car, were latecomers to Fords. This is their first year with the T-Bird. So how did they catch up? How did they get their car in a position to run third here today? Simple. Junior wore out 3 engines on the dynamometer since the May race here in Talladega. Wore them out completely and junked them. And they've obviously found some answers because the Fords continue to have a big advantage in restrictor plate racing.
But for the moment, with 51 laps complete, the Fords are looking up from under with Pontiac in first, Chevy in second, then Fords running in third and fourth, and Kyle Petty has brought his Pontiac up to fifth. And remember that Gary Nelson car, Felix Savetta's car, had Ted Condor. They had qualified 10th, which is their best to date. Looks like they've found some solutions to the problems of the restrictor plate. Let's take a look at the standings after 50 laps here some of the way as we continue to watch. Morgan Shepherd out in front. Schrader right there in second with the GM products. Terry Labonte in the Junior Johnson car third. Mark Martin, Kyle Petty rounding out the top 5. At position 6 through 10, Davey Allison is there. He's fallen back on the pack. And then Sterling Marlin, Alan Kowicki, Bobby Hillin. Say that's not up to snuff because I think the 17 has moved in there. Darrell Waltrip is very much a part of that group. Now here further back is Bill Elliott's number 9, right in front of Hut Strickland. He seems to be waiting a bit. He knows there's going to be a couple more cautions. I don't think he's ready to go at all.
Well, I think he's running about as hard as he can, Ken, but you run as fast as the company that you're keeping with the restrictor plates, and he's leading this pack. Actually, they might be hurting him just a little bit, but and that's certainly not taking away anything from Hut Strickland or Brett Bodine and the cars that are behind him, but they could be holding him back a little bit, and he doesn't have anybody in front of him to draft to pick up speed.
They're losing ground in the front pack every lap.
If he were running up there with the front runners, he could run the same speed as them.
To me, the remarkable entity here is Waltrip so far in this race. He's out there by himself, maintaining the interval in the top 10, and it's definitely a threat for victory today.
Leaders. Schrader looks to the inside for just a moment, maybe taking some cool air in. I'll try to give you an idea of the interval between the two packs here in a moment. Elliott in that 9 car stays about 17th on the field. Hut Strickland in 18th. Brett Bodine back in 19th. We look a little further back on the field.
27 cars are still in the lead lap, Ken, and behind Bill Elliott are Richard Petty and Dave Marcus, Larry Pearson. Dale Jarrett is the last car on the lead lap.
There's the interval between those first 2 packs at about 7.8. And as you saw, Waltrip is falling back towards Sterling Marlin. Davey Allison stays 6th. Waltrip in 7th. Sterling Marlin is 8th. Alan Kowicki now 9th. And Bobby Hillin is in 10th.
In 11th place is Joe Ruttman. 12th is Dale Earnhardt. 13th, Rick Wilson. 14th is Neil Bonnet. Harry Gant rides 15th. Dick Trickle 16th. Bill Elliott now up to 17th. Hut Strickland 18th. Brett Bodine is 19th. A.J. Foyt is 20th. 21st is Ricky Rudd. 22nd, Phil Barkdahl. Richard Petty is 23rd. 24th is the car 71 of Dave Marcus. Car number 2, Bernie Irvin is 25th. Larry Pearson 26th. Dale Jarrett 27th.
Checking the interval back to Bill Elliott from those leaders as they came by. That'd be the 3rd pack back around this track. Here's Hut Strickland getting beneath Elliott.
Yeah, that's a little surprise. His car's been running well, though. Hut Strickland had a good qualifying run.
25-1.
That's about a half a lap. In fact, just a little over a half a lap. The leaders are still turning the track at a little under 50 seconds. So that's about a half a lap behind.
And that was built in 20 laps.
Here we go for the lead. Schrader to the outside. That's maroon number 25. Hendrick's stable car up on the outside.
Now, Mark Martin can play a big role in who takes the lead here, and it looks like he's going to follow Ken Schrader. Martin in the blue car number 6. Now he comes back to the inside, and that'll help Morgan Shepherd. Whichever car he follows is most likely the one that'll come out in front.
As a driver, Ned, Mark Martin has a lot on his mind today. He's the only one in the field eligible for a $114,000 bonus if he wins. That's over and above the first place prize money. You think that's on his mind?
Well, probably not right at this moment, but that's a lot of money, and it's got to creep in there every once in a while.
He said that that's more money than he ever won in a season of racing in his career.
Yeah.
He's also said it wouldn't matter. It was $114 million. So we're working just as hard as we can to win our first race. Mark Martin stays right there in this great battle for first in the 21st running of the DieHard 500. We'll return with more live flag-to-flag coverage of the DieHard 500 after this word from your local station. On the Speedway, Talladega, Alabama. Talladega Speedway, 2.6-mile track. The DieHard 500, 58 laps are complete of 188. Apparently we have some debris on the track.
Coming off of turn 2 as they head down the backstretch.
So it's an opportunity for the field to gather back up. The pit road is closed, and I would think that some of them are really, this comes at an advantageous time for many of them.
There you can see the debris, Ken. As the cars go by, the air will cause it to roll on down the track. It looks like it might be a piece of metal off of one of the cars. And of course, if the car can run over, you can see the pit road, and there's the sign that says pit road is closed. They have to get behind the pace car and go around again before they can come in. The pace car will be coming out this time around, and then the next time the pit road will be open.
What led to these pit road closings, Ned?
Well, it's primarily confusion during caution flags. At a place like this, the leaders would dive into the pits before they would come across the start-finish line, and it was very tough scoring sometimes to figure who the pace car was supposed to go in front of.
Let's look at the standings after we've completed 133 miles here. Morgan Shepherd was then in front, Ken Schrader in second, Terry Labonte was in third, and you can look down through the remainder of them, see how one of your favorites is doing. We're now working the 60th lap of the event. It's a 2.6-mile track. Richard Petty back there in 21st. Still very much part of this game and in that lead lap. Morgan Shepherd out in front, about a quarter of a foot most of the time. And happy birthday to Alabama's Neil Bonnet, having a pretty good run, and will stay with the Wood brothers again next year.
That's right. It was announced this morning.
A lot of people said that Neil Bonnet was going to retire. He says, I'm not near ready to retire. He said, I'm having too much fun right now. I want to keep doing this. And of course, he was with the Wood brothers many years ago, back with them again this year, and already signed up for 1990. So his name will go out of the rumor mill now, and maybe somebody else's will replace him.
Seriously, during contract negotiations, none of these retirement things are ever denied.
Yeah, right.
I may do it.
Well, Neil Bonnet is certainly still a very good race driver, very capable one. And, you know, he went through a period after an injury in Charlotte year before last that his mental attitude, admittedly, it was not what it needed to be. But after he healed completely, he, boy, is ready to go again. He says he can't wait to get to the racetrack and get behind the wheel of that race car.
I'd like to say hello to Tim Richmond this afternoon down in hospital around Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He's feeling poorly, but still fighting. Service a racing finish second and not too long ago.
Pit road is open.
Yep.
Here they come.
Here they come. Neil is 43 today, huh?
A lot of work going on pit road, and let's go down to Dave Despain.
Kenny Schrader's crew quickly going to work. They've had a terrible time with pit stops this year and a lot of changes on this team. They now say as they go first to the right side, then to the left side, that this is the pit crew they will work with the rest of the year. Beautiful stop. Let's go to Mike Joy.
Morgan Shepherd waves off a cold drink as Butchbach and crew put left side tires on his car, trying to complete the job in under 22 seconds. Can get him out first. It won't happen. Schrader is first down the pit lane. Now Shepherd is away as Darrell Waltrip's crew continues repairs on that right rear fender.
Everybody pitted. There wasn't a car behind the pace car.
Yeah, the pace car is over in turn 2, all by his lonesome. Mark Martin will be the first car to come out of the pits.
I've been waiting for years to see that. You know,
Lonesome Elmo.
One guy stays out and ruins it, but this is the first time that the entire field has been on pit road at the same time.
Lonesome Elmo Langley.
Well, we mentioned that Mark Martin was the first driver to get out of the pits. Let's take a look at his pit stop by Robin Pemberton, the right front tire changer, looking from the crew cam. As he changes the right front tire, you see how quickly he does it. He hits those 5 lug nuts, finished with the work on that side, runs around to the other side. And, well, they only changed the right side tire. So one reason that they got out first, very good pit stop, though.
Robin Pemberton giving us those nice shots. Pit road here at Talladega, Alabama. CBS live flag-to-flag coverage of this $700,000 contest. Here's Dave Despain.
And I'm with Steve Neal, who's the team manager for Mark Martin's crew. You guys got in and out in a hurry, but you only took 2 tires, right?
Well, we took 4 on the last stop because he run through all that wreck up there, and it'd have broke my heart if we'd have changed 2, and then he'd come back in when they threw the green with a flat left rear. So we got 4 to stop before, and we're in sequence now to be changing 2.
So you don't feel this was any disadvantage, and in fact, it got you out in front of the field?
Yeah, you know, judging from how the race has already been going on, it's pretty tough racing in behind. They're crashing and beating and banging and getting caught behind, so we'd rather be out front on 2 tires than in the middle of the pack back on 4.
Has anybody mentioned to you that you guys could win $114,000 if you win this race today? Are you guys thinking about that, or are you treating this like just another race?
If we're racing for nickels, it wouldn't make any difference to us. We want to win everything we can get our hands on.
And they're due to win one here today. Let's go to Mike Joy.
Dave, Darrell Waltrip will have to come back in. They've been tying up that car just with good old-fashioned bungee cords on that fender. They'll have to bring him back in now and complete the repair. One thing that restrictor plate racing has done is improve the gas mileage of these cars. Usually at Talladega, they run just about 100 miles, but some teams I've seen on the charts that pitted at lap 30 weren't due back in until lap 72 or 74, and that's 120 miles on a tank full. They'll get Waltrip taped back in and back out.
That's how they went in. That's how they came out. Under caution. Morgan Shepherd came in leading, came out 5th. Mark Martin comes up in front now with a very good pit stop. Changed just to right side tires, as you saw. Kenny Schrader, 3rd to 2nd. Terry Labonte, he pitted 4th, fell back to 8th, and Kyle Petty came in 5th, comes out in 7th spot. So for the moment, here at Talladega, Alabama, with 61 laps complete, the man who sat on the pole in car number 6, 6th time he's been on the pole this year, Mark Martin, is back on that front position. But for how long? Probably not long, the way this race has been running itself. They've been swapping the lead throughout the event to date. We've had 24 lead changes among 10 drivers. Talladega is famous for its close finishes, and the drivers know that even 1 second lost to the pits may not ever be regained.
17. Of course, he's coming from the rear because he did make that late pit stop. He came back in once again, but he's got a strong automobile, and you can see he's running by himself right now on the racetrack, but he has come from back in the pack before up towards the front. I think he'll do it again.
Meanwhile, the leaders coming by with Schrader in first, and here comes that Pontiac back on the inside. Number 75. Shepherd is going to take that lead another time, make that 25 lead changes.
Well, I'll tell you, that car is impressive, and he's driving in an impressive lead.
Tight running out of 2. From Sterling Marlin's vantage. That's tight running, pressed up against the wall at over 190 miles per hour. There is Mark Martin directly in front of him. Davey Allison just up there a bit. And Kyle Petty, who stays very much in this race just on the bottom. Number 42 is Kyle.
Make a move down on the inside of Mark Martin.
There's a new name up among these top 10, and that is Brett Bodine. Recall that he started way on the back of the pack after that 4-car crash back on Friday. They had to bring out the reserve car. That Martin was able to move in the lead, took on 2 tires and fuel. His pit stop was 15 3/10 seconds, but from the time he entered the pits until he exited, and that's key. Look at that, 34.8. He has got a team that works as well as he does. He gets that car woed and gets it out of there in good shape.
Well, Morgan Shepherd got in and out good. He took on 4 tires, although he was 39.7 overall, but he got in and out the pits good.
That's remarkable, that getting in and getting out is part and parcel of doing well in the pit. Go to Mike Joy.
Well, Chris, especially with restrictor plate racing, it's so hard to pass on the racetrack. You need to gain every fraction of a second you can here on pit road. Just a couple of weeks ago, Ricky Rudd's team here did a 4-tire change in world record time, 20.5 seconds, and they got beat out of the pits. The competition is so intense that Dale Earnhardt's team forbid a cable TV crew from filming one of their pit stops, afraid they might give away some secrets. Here's Dave Despain.
And down on this end of pit road, the all-time championship team in terms of pit stops would be the Richard Childress outfit that backs Dale Earnhardt's efforts. And we asked Richard yesterday, your team doesn't seem to be quite as dominant, both on the racetrack and in the pits. And he gave me a big grin, and he said, well, everybody else learned their lessons from us, and now they've all caught up with us. So that's the story on pit road.
Leaders for the tri-oval. Dale Earnhardt back in the midst of the field. Richard Petty's been running 20-21. And A.J. Foyt has come up to 13th. He's having a pretty good day.
Yeah, he had a good pit stop. He's been running in the thick of several of those packs out there today. He's been in one pack and then the other. Had a good pit stop this time, moved him up to 13th.
But here's the story, and it's, as always, at Talladega among the leaders, where you see Morgan Shepherd first, Ken Schrader second, Mark Martin maintaining that third position. Kyle Petty is on the move, and there goes A.J. down on the inside of Alan Kowicki. A.J. Foyt having a terrific run here, staying with the leaders and right in the midst of this fight. Now there's Dale Earnhardt. Tucked right in with Davey Allison.
Whatever happened during that pit stop, the adjustments made to A.J. Foyt's car certainly improved his performance.
And they've improved Earnhardt's dramatically. He's getting back up into this thing strong. 7th. Sterling Marlin looking back over the field here a little. Ford crawling right up his exhaust pipe. Davey Allison just closes right in, takes a look on the inside, and here's Davey pulling alongside Sterling.
And right here's where you run out of momentum, right, Ned?
Yeah, he's making it. Well, he must have a car in front of him that's helping him a little bit because he was able to make the pass completely. Now Sterling will duck in behind him, try to pick up his draft.
68 laps complete. Earnhardt behind Marlin.
Boy, can you imagine that nose sticking right up your back bumper?
Watching it live, better than 190 miles per hour.
Dark danger there, no question about it. Dale Earnhardt, one of the hardest chargers of all.
8th place car, Earnhardt. They look so steady until you see them from that angle, and then they look like a handful.
They're a handful, okay, because as close as they're running, there's a lot of air affected by those automobiles, and it causes them to dance around quite a bit.
One of the things that's helped the drivers today is the fact that the cloud cover developed and the sun isn't beating down on them as it was just before the start. It's probably a lot cooler in the cars than they had anticipated.
And that certainly works to the driver's favor.
Pontiac, Chevrolet, Ford, Pontiac cross the line in the top 5 at the end of 69 laps. Thought this might be a Ford day. But this man right here, Morgan Shepherd, and the gentleman right behind him, Ken Schrader, last year's winner, changing that story.
It's a little deja vu here. Darrell Waltrip again is by himself between the backs, running very well. 7.31 seconds behind the leader.
Morgan Shepherd's wife.
Shepherd watching as her husband and probably saying a little prayer there for Morgan to stay out front. They're from Conover, North Carolina. Live in a modest home, not just outside of Conover, North Carolina. Morgan has a nice race shop in his backyard.
DieHard 500. Morgan Shepherd, one of the toughest, stays out in front. In that, Jared, I'm Ken Squire, and after 69 laps, Morgan Shepherd was leading, Schrader was in second, Terry Labonte in third, Mark Martin fourth, and Kyle Petty was in fifth. Taking a look at the second 10 at 69 laps, Davey Allison was there, and these 10 were all running together. Note that Hut Strickland, the rookie, was up there in that pack and still is. 10 cars in the lead group. We are now working the 74th lap, and there you see Morgan Shepherd back in front another time. Waltrip further back with Rick Wilson right behind him and Bill Elliott further back on this field. They try to work their way out through.
Whatever happened to that pit stop, Elliott's car's performance has improved. He was unable to keep pace with Waltrip before. Now he's running over him.
Yeah, I think it has a great deal to do with the person that he's running with. He's able to draft whatever speed the car that he's running with is running.
Waltrip running in the 16th position as they go down into turn 1. Morgan Shepherd, who has won twice on this series, stays up in front. And here you see Earnhardt being challenged by Sterling Marlin in the number 94 and Bobby Hillen, the young gentleman who won this race in an incredible upset in 1986, coming back into it for the Stavola brothers.
And he's one of the drivers that wrecked here on Friday and had to go to a backup car, had to start at the rear of the field, but has done a great job in keeping that car in contention and now finding himself up in the top 10.
Earnhardt in 7th position, Sterling Marlin in 8th, and running 9th is Bobby Hillen Hunt Strickland in 10th. Let's go down to Dave Despain.
5 pit stops in the first 55 laps of this race certainly was not the Bill Elliott strategy. Yes, the car is running better, but it's still not as good as it needs to be. And Dan Elliott, what's the problem?
We think we've got toe-in out on the car, and until we get a caution flag where we can come in and check toe-in, get an adjustment on it. Everything's showing toe-in. The tires are wearing. And the way Bill's describing how the car is running, that's something that we need to get in and do. And the longer the race goes on, the harder that's going to be to do, because we want to try to get up to the front of the pack. And if we have a long caution and stay in the pits, we'll put us in the back of the pack.
Basically, the front end of the car is out of line, and the problem is it takes 2 stops to fix that, right?
Yeah, I'm afraid it's going to take at least 2.
So they're playing a waiting game here, hoping that they can get to the front, but knowing that if they get to the front, then they can't take the 2 stops, because that would drop them all the way back in the pack and too late in the race to make it back up again. So it's a strategic problem for the Elliots. Let's go to Mike Joy.
Well, we're watching A.J. Foyt go past as he's trying to move up and get with that lead pack. Tex Powell is his crew chief. A.J.'s humming along pretty good today.
Well, we're a little short on power, and we got a little problem with the cool suit, but he's just trying to hang on with some good cars as best he can.
Well, now, wait a minute. What's the little problem with the cool suit? I understand that thing either works or it doesn't.
Well, I'm not real sure. He indicated it wasn't working, but I can't believe that it's completely stopped, or else he couldn't stand it because it's so hot out there.
Well, maybe he could. He's one guy here that, you know, eats nails and spits gasoline, so he could hold on with it. But when that thing goes, it's like when the power steering goes in your car. It makes things twice as tough as if you didn't have it to begin with. Now, speaking of cool, how about your guys? You're all in fire suits, the fellas that go over pit wall, and they're in the sponsor's color, black.
Right. It's a little bit tough today, but we'll just try to be about half as tough as A.J., and we'll make it.
Okay, Tex Powell.
Thank you.
A.J. Foyt now in 15th.
You know, earlier I checked down through the garage here about the cool suits. There were 24 cool suits out there, but it's interesting that the top drivers, few of the top drivers are wearing cool suits. For example, Bill Elliott, Dale Earnhardt, Darrell Waltrip, Ricky Rudd, Alan Kulwicki, Ken Schrader, Mark Martin, and Jimmy Spencer were not wearing cool suits today.
Here's Richard Petty. His son Kyle, incidentally, has fallen back just a little bit recently. He was running up in that top 5, now back to 10th. And Richard, we had him in, what, 26 a moment ago.
You know, Richard's listening to his fellow competitors. About a month or so ago, Dale Earnhardt criticized Richard Petty for his lack of stamina. He's falling out of races for physical reasons, and he made the comment that you can't live on chewing tobacco. And the other day, Richard Petty said he was changing his diet in line with what Dale Earnhardt said. He said he's in good health, but he's in bad shape. So he's trying to get his stamina back.
Lead change up in front. And here's Terry Labonte putting the Junior Johnson Ford into the lead. The Pontiac falling to second, the Chevrolet to third.
Richard Petty has been wondering why he hangs in there. It's been July 4th, 1984, over 5 years since he won his last race. He was asked about retirement.
He's got the stamina to keep on wanting to race and keep on doing the best job like he's been doing.
And I trust him more than anything. You know, he's the type of driver that's going to push you to the limit. He's not going to give you an inch. If you get an inch from him, you're going to take it from him, and vice versa. You know, he's going to do the same thing to you.
He's as hungry today as he's ever been, as far as I know. He's a good competitor, and he wants to win races and run hard.
I think the deal is they're working on some new things that are different than what everybody else is running. And, of course, I think if they get them worked out like they hope, they'll be a step ahead.
If he had the opportunity to drive the front-running cars, he'd be up there with them. There's no question in my mind.
I think Richard, with the right equipment, could be right back up front winning races.
When you talk to him about race cars and when you look in his eyes, and when you look in Richard Petty's eyes, he's 52 years old, but he looks like a 16-year-old that just got his license handed to him every time he gets in a race car. So, you know, it's one of those deals where he still enjoys it, and if he wants to drive till he's 60 or 100 years old, then that's fine.
Drivers with 3 or more championships. That tells the story. Richard Petty with 7. And the King is doing pretty good this afternoon, staying right in that lead lap. But meanwhile, leaders are coming into traffic. Proved to be a problem here. Here's Morgan Shepherd trying to sort things out a bit.
He has regained the lead from Terry Labonte as they go through that pack of traffic. Dale Jarrett about to go a lap down in car number 29.
That's one of those cars that was in that big wreck back on Friday in that final afternoon practice. Happened right out of turn number 4.
And Dale Bill was just a victim of circumstances. He didn't get involved in the wreck. He ran over a piece of debris off of one of the other cars, blew a tire, and hit the wall.
Yeah, I was about to say he won't have to defend him. It was not his fault at all. The other three had cried. He had it actually pretty well slowed down. He was down about 110, 15 miles an hour, and lo and behold, he said he saw something come off one of the cars, bounce over the top. There's nothing to do. He went under his car and kerpowed. The tire went down. He's doing a nice job for a car that is just not working as well as he would wish. It's not the car they had intended to run here.
We're looking out the window of Sterling Marlin as it looks like Ken Schrader in car number 25 pulls away, but now Morgan or Sterling moves in as they go into the turn.
And that is Sterling in fourth, Schrader in third. Up in second is Terry Labonte, and Morgan Shepherd up in front. Here they are into the 18-degree tri-oval, working the 82nd lap of 188 in the DieHard 500. Of 188 laps now complete. CBS Live flag-to-flag coverage of the DieHard 500, and Morgan Shepherd remains the dominant factor. Pontiac out in front, taking a look back in that second 10. Darrell Waltrip clambering up through another time. He's come out of the back, and let's take a look at the interval so you get an idea of how those front 10 set. Front three coming to the finish line here, and that would be Morgan Shepherd, Terry Labonte, and Schrader. Then a second group of three led by Mark Martin. And after that group, down to the inside comes Waltrip, and he's just clipping off cars now. What a run he's making.
Just moved up into 7th place, and he's really on his way.
Yeah, he really is, Chris. About 7 laps ago, he was about 7 7/10 seconds behind the leader. Now he's only about 4.5 seconds behind the leader. So he has come through a lot of traffic and is gaining on the front runner. So he has that Chevrolet on the move.
We're going to see a fine race here before it's all over for up front. We've got the Pontiac leading. Fords are really running hard, and Darrell Waltrip carrying the colors for Chevrolet.
And he told our viewers right at the outset, got a strong horse here today. I'm going to win this one for my mother. Front three, back to the stripe. Pontiac, Ford, and Chevrolet. Can't get it much closer than that. Here's Dave Despain.
And I'm looking at the feet of a stock car racing legend. That right foot stomped the throttle to more than 50 super speedway races. Let's move up here to the other end of this racing legend and find out why David Pearson's shoes don't match. David, what happened to your feet here?
Well, Larry said his right foot was burning up. You know, the exhaust on these cars is right against the floorboard, so I just insulated mine right quick, and we switched shoes under that caution. That's one of the reasons that it took so long on this caution for him to switch shoes. He couldn't get the shoe on. But his was too little for me. My toes all cramped up, and I can't hardly move it. I tell you, this week has been the worst week, I guess, I've ever had in racing.
Well, we hope it keeps getting better for you. Larry wrecked a car in practice, had to start at the back. Now with a burnt foot, he's had to change shoes on his last pit stop. They've always said that David Pearson had big shoes to fill. Larry has filled one of them here today. Let's go down pit road to Mike Joy.
Dave, the wind that is making these umbrellas and flags stretch out straight here, this cool breeze would ordinarily be welcome. Not so today. 45 minutes to the west in Birmingham, there are thunder showers, and that's usually what's behind this kind of front. It means two things. We may be racing the rain here to an early finish of this race. 94 laps or halfway would complete it officially if we couldn't get restarted. More importantly, these engines are designed, their carburetors are jetted to run at a certain temperature and air density. As the barometer drops, what will happen to the air-fuel mixture in these engines, and will these engines start going off like popcorn?
Getting back to David Pearson, I just wonder if it was a throttle shoe that Larry Pearson is wearing. But David was a very heavy throttle man, won so many races. It could make a difference.
Well, I'll tell you, that's the first time I've ever heard of anyone changing shoes during a race. But, you know, that's a good move by him. Larry's running about the 25th position right now, still in the lead lap.
Davey Allison, pictures from his car in 7th, and Sterling Marlin directly in front in 6th. Working toward the halfway point of this DieHard 500. Davies won 2 of these races, run with restrictor plates, and these two have been together most of this particular dance. They, from the outset, have been running.
Of course, we're looking at the rear view of Sterling Marlin at Davey Allison.
We'll be back with more in a moment.
It's a
Race summary is sponsored by Quaker State Motor Oil, where the big Q stands for quality. After 212 miles, there had been 12 leaders, 28 lead changes, and we had been slowed to 148 miles an hour by 3 caution periods, and 10 cars had retired from the event. Included in that group, Jeff Bodine, Derek Cope, Phil Parsons, Rusty Wallace, Jimmy Means, Mike Waltrip, Stan Barrett, his first time back in a few years. Patty Moise out. Rick Mast is retired from the event. It's the attrition and the top 5 at the present time. Morgan Shepherd is there. But look who's in 4th. Darrell Waltrip is on a tremendous run.
Well, I'll tell you, he has really come up through the field. And, you know, they talk about not being able to pass with the restrictor plate. He started at the rear of this pack when the green flag fell because he had made a second pit stop, started at the rear of the pack, and has passed every car on the field, excepting those 3 in front of. Won't be long, he'll be passing them.
That's done in 32 laps. He came out of the pits on lap 60.
2 laps to halfway. Shepherd first. Pontiac, Lamati, Ford second.
There goes Darrell to the top.
Here comes that number 17 Chevrolet way on the high side. Schrader out to greet him.
Yeah, Schrader pulled up there and said maybe he can push me on in front of these guys, or maybe Schrader's car just wouldn't stay down in the turn, but you can look for Darrell Waltrip to try to go low going into turn 3. His car's been working well on the low side of the racetrack, but it looks like Schrader's going to go low this time, hoping Darrell would follow him. So Darrell just take the high road then. Maybe he should have followed Schrader.
Coming to halfway in the event, Morgan Shepherd has been dominating with that Pontiac Raymock Racing stable car. Here they are coming to the tri-oval. Waltrip, now that he's gathered up the front 3. Harold Kinder, cross flags.
Halfway
for Morgan Shepherd.
Well, Darrell Waltrip ran these 3 down just practically by himself. He went through other bunches of cars and was able to pull away. They were not able to draft with him, but now let's see, can he pass this group once he caught them?
Earlier we asked Darrell Waltrip to handicap his chances of winning the Winston Cup Point Championship.
Well, the way I see things right now is I see the battle tightening for a few races here because of where we're going. Talladega, the Ford runs well. We go the road course, and it's a toss-up between Bill, Rusty, maybe me in there, I hope. And then we go back to Michigan. Got to favor Bill a little bit there. But then we start back on the grind, on the tough part, on the part that makes you a champion. We go to Bristol, and to Wilkesboro, to Martinsville, and to Dovers. Those are the racetracks where the championship's going to be won and lost. So if we can stay in the battle, tighten up just a little bit more, and then hit those short tracks and run like we did earlier this year, then I favor Darrell Waltrip. But if we don't do good in these next few races, I favor whoever does.
He's running up there now. He's gone to second and going to challenge for the lead. This is unlike Waltrip's style. He usually saves his best for a bit later on in the race in the last season and a half. But he's moving fast now as he challenges Morgan Shepherd for the lead. Here's Dave Despain.
And we're going to play a little numerology game here. Remember when Darrell Waltrip won the Daytona 500, car 17, on the 17th of February, in his 17th try at the Daytona 500? So much was made of that. Oh, when we all got our credentials here for this race, they number them to keep them straight so you can't use this week's credential next week. And look here, this is race number 17 on an orange pass. Looks a lot like Darrell Waltrip's day here at Talladega.
Here he is in second place, closing ground, picking up time on Morgan Shepherd. A car length separates them. Remember, he was in an incident earlier. If you're just joining us, it's a wonder that this number 17 is still even running. We'll show it to you again before we leave the air, but he was involved in a major incident on pit road. We thought it might have torn that car up. He's come back, and on this track which demands super slick aerodynamics, nothing seems to bother Waltrip. Here he is to the bottom.
And Ken, we're going to have green flag pit stops coming up here very shortly. They've run about 100 miles now since they've made a pit stop. They can go, perhaps Waltrip gets awfully good gas mileage. He might go 120 or so miles, but some of the others will be coming in the next 5 or so laps.
And with a green flag up, Ned, it's up to the pit crews to get their men in and out quickly. Every second at this racetrack The car goes the length of a football field. So if a driver's held in the pits 3 seconds longer than his rival, that's 3 football fields behind that he falls.
Gentlemen, take note. Look who's rocketing right up back into 3rd spot now. Here he is. He waited back there in 5th or 6th. He says, if Darrell's going to the front, I think I'll tag along. Mark Martin. Waltrip going high. Look at him fade to the outside on that 33-degree banking in turn 2.
Get ahead of steam out going down the back straightaway for a try in turn 3.
Shepard's best finish, 5th here back in 1988. Trying to improve on that, but here comes Waltrip trying to take him down a peg. Great race. Mark Martin in the number 6. That is the Roush Ford. What a challenge for Jack Roush. And now he's inching along on the outside. Pontiac in first. Chevrolet in second. Ford in third. Ford going to second on the outside.
Good move by Mark Martin. He really set him up that time and made a great pass.
Mr. Martin is learning the Superspeedway. His experience in the early days was on the short track, but he's an absolute when it comes to the big track.
1979 and 82 champion of this event. One of only 2 men to have won the DieHard 500 on 2 occasions. Darrell Waltrip now rests his case in 3rd spot. Terry Labonte running side by side with Schrader. That won't help either of their causes.
I think their tires are beginning to get a little warm. They've run, as we said, over 100 miles now. They're beginning to slip a little bit more in the turns. And their speed has gone down a little bit, their lap speed. As a result, you can see how high they're going in the turns there right now, excepting Morgan Shepherd. He's able to keep that car right on the bottom of the racetrack.
Everybody got gas and tires on lap 59 except Waltrip, who made his stop on the 60th lap. Now lap 99, working on lap 100 at the moment.
Here to the inside comes Mark Martin taking a shot at first. Here's Mike Joy.
Ricky Rudd will be the first of the cars in that lead draft to pit. He comes in for 2 tires only on the right side. Target time 12.5 seconds. Right front is done, waiting to get every drop of gas in the car. Finally, it spits out and he's away.
Well back in the field, running in the 21st position. Here's the story. Up into that front running position goes car number 6. It is Mark Martin. Mark Martin pushing that Ford back out in front. He's having an incredible year, but he still has his first win coming in Winston Cup racing. A year ago, he had 3 top 5 position finishes in 29 races. This year, in 16 starts going into today, he's had 6 top 5 finishes, 9 top 10. He's up there 5th currently in points. Was in 4th until Elliott beat him out of Pocono, Pennsylvania a week ago.
You can see a group of cars that the leaders are coming up on there now. You can see here comes the leaders. Mark Martin in the lead. Darrell Waltrip second, a 5-car draft.
Ford, Chevrolet, Pontiac, 1, 2, 3. Waltrip going for the lead on the inside. Darrell Waltrip buries his foot in it down in turn number 3, and the Chevy goes out in front for the Hendrick Racing Stables. Roush Racing on the outside, and the Rahili team with their Pontiac number 75 stays 3rd.
He's the 13th driver to lead this race.
Kyle Petty has made a pit stop. Darrell Waltrip had led before. In fact, this is the 5th time that he has led this race. He did so early on before he had his pit problem.
Behind them, Terry Labonte lies 5th. Davey Allison is 6th. Joe Ruttman is up to 7th. Dale Earnhardt is in 8th. Sterling Marlin is in 9th. And Alan Kowicki lies 10th. Here they are, sorting themselves around Dale Jarrett at the present time. Mark Stahl also, that white and red car. Watch Waltrip back in front. Here's what happened to Waltrip on pit road. As he was trying to come out first, he and Davey Allison side by side. And watch, Jimmy Spencer over the back of car number 17. It ruined Spencer's day. We thought it was going to put a blemish on Waltrip's efforts. But here he is now with 103 laps complete. He has come from behind on 2 occasions, and he's leading this event with the pole sitter, Mark Martin, in the 4th and 2nd spot.
That's remarkable. Now we wonder how long he's going to push that tank of fuel. 100 miles for the 22 gallons. It used to be the norm, but with the smaller carburetor plates, they get an extra mileage. He's got to be coming in soon.
Richard Petty just made a pit stop in his automobile, and yeah, they'll be coming in soon, but Darrell Waltrip will stay as long as perhaps any of them, because he gets very good gas mileage. That won the Daytona 500 for him.
77 wins. 77 wins have been recorded by Darrell Waltrip, shooting for 78 here this afternoon.
Here's Mark Martin in the pits.
Dave Despain.
Martin on pit road. If he wins this race, he wins a $114,000 bonus for winning from the pole. Remember, he lost a shot at that bonus at Daytona. Behind him, Alan Kulwicki has spun sideways and is being pitted at a counterclockwise angle to Martin. Martin is away clean, but behind him in 15.6 seconds, Alan Kulwicki is still sitting there facing the wrong way. He did not hit Martin. Martin's stop was clean. Martin's guys now go over to try to help clear away their tires and get Kulwicki back underway. It was a very near miss for Martin. Remember, this team, Martin's team, lost that shot at that bonus at Daytona because they miscalculated fuel. This time they made a clean 15-second stop, but they were distracted to the tune of a couple of seconds by Alan Kulwicki sliding in behind them. It was a near miss, but they've escaped it clean. Maybe their luck has finally turned.
And that cost Alan Kulwicki a lot of extra time. Let's go back to the pits and Mike Joy.
Morgan Shepherd is in, Davey Allison right with him. Both teams going for right side tires. Shepherd, who's led a good part of this race, and both teams have performed well in the restrictor plate events. Smoke from the left front of Davey Allison's brake. As they finish the service, Shepherd's away first. Let's go back to Dave.
Schrader and Terry Labonte, both in right behind, have also made their pit stops clean and are back underway. Labonte, of course, running right in that top 5 through most of this last round of green flag racing.
Waltrip stays on the track, stays in front. Meanwhile, we have a fire in the infield. The motorhome is caught on fire, and they've moved some of the safety crews over there. It's down toward turn number 1 where they're working right now.
As if it were not hot enough here already today. Boy, those fans in the infield and in that motorhome in particular are really getting hot. You can see turn 2 in the background over there. Darrell Waltrip just went by, so no effect on the racetrack. Let's go to Dave Despain, who's in Bill Elliott's pits.
Well, this was not the pit stop Bill Elliott needed. He needs an alignment job on the front end of that car. Instead, he's getting the exact opposite of what he wanted, a green flag stop for right side tires and fuel. A good clean stop as A.J. Foyt dives in behind him, but Elliott still has the toe-in problem on the number 9 Ford that has made it impossible for him to keep pace and follow Darrell Waltrip up through the traffic after they both had early mishaps.
Well, here's a little different strategy, fellas. A.J. Foyt taking on left side tires as Darrell Waltrip comes in the pits, and Mike Joy is there.
So AJ has the left side of the car up as Darrell Waltrip comes past to make his stop. It'll be 2 tires for AJ and maybe a look at that cool suit problem. Waltrip has really marched his way back up through the field to come up with the leaders after that early unscheduled stop. Right side's on. Eddie Dickerson doing the right front after Tony Casanova carried those tires over. When Jeff Hammond drops that jack, away he'll go. He's down and he's off. 12.6 seconds for 2 tires and gas.
Very good pit stop, boy. That'll keep you up in the front.
Well, after the shuffle, we'll see what the scoreboard says.
Sterling Marlin should come up on top.
Now, fellas, as we see Darrell Waltrip going out of the pits, A.J. Foyt is stalled. They changed the left side tires, and they're trying to get him fired again. Now the engine does fire, but boy, that's cost him a lot of extra time. I was about to say, as Darrell Waltrip was going out of the pits, as we now watch A.J. Foyt go out of the pits, they use a transmission a little different here, the gearing in the transmission, with a very high 3rd gear. In fact, when they leave the pits, they probably don't get in 4th gear until they approach turn 3.
That's a long time before you hit high gear.
Yeah, it really is, but it takes that long to get the engines revved up.
Here's your leader, Sterling Marlin. You're riding with him in the number 94. Twice he has nearly won this race. He stayed right in it and still on the track. Just in front of him is the car of Kyle Petty.
And he has made a pit stop, so Kyle is that far from being a lap down. And his crew, Sterling Marlin, ready for him to come in the pits. He'll be coming in here very shortly, maybe this time around. We're following him in.
The Australian driver, Dick Johnson, coming back on the track. Looks like he may have a gear problem as he comes out. Sterling Marlin, the leader. Bobby Hillen in 2nd, and Rick Wilson in 3rd.
Well, Sterling Marlin stayed out that time, Ken. Good gas mileage he's getting there. Now maybe there was a problem. There's Rick Wilson coming into the pits right by the pits off Sterling Marlin, so maybe they decided to leave him out there knowing that Wilson was coming in so that he wouldn't be in the way.
Wilson got 49 laps on his tank, and Marlin hasn't come in yet. He'll be going for 50 laps on a tank.
And Waltrip got 46 on his, 122 miles.
And could probably have gotten more. He just didn't want to take a chance.
Green flag pit stop, sorting them out here in our live coverage of the Talladega DieHard 500 at Talladega Speedway this afternoon here on CBS. Let's take a look at his fuel gauge here. How many pounds left there?
Well, he's still got plenty of fuel pressure there, Tim, but it's beginning to waver a little bit. You see that fuel gauge is bouncing up and down a little bit, so that looks like that it might be
advantageous to come in. Consultation flag on 94.
Well, it might be that he's lost radio contact, and the crew has told NASCAR to get him into the pits. He couldn't hear them.
Well, his number's up on the board. He's working on his headset. Something's amiss there.
Yeah, he's working on his radio. He knows that he should be coming into the pits here before long, and of course he will hopefully heed that black flag.
His radio is out, and that's why you saw his number up on the board. Each of those teams have radio contact with their driver. They walk out on pit road, talk to one of the NASCAR inspectors. They notified the tower. The tower put it up down here at the flag stand. And here comes Sterling Marlin onto pit road. Let's go to the pits.
Marlin inheriting the lead and now coming in for the pit stop with no radio. They have notified him to come in for fuel. He stretched it for everything it was worth. We've seen right side changes and left side during this round. He will go to the right. The time to beat in this round of green flag stops, Waltrip's 12.6 second stop. And as the Marlin crew do their work on the right-hand side, they're packing in all the fuel, and he is away. 16.2 seconds, nowhere near the stop that Darrell Waltrip had. Let's go to Mike Joy.
Jeff Hammond, Darrell Waltrip's crew chief, on the horn with his driver. You know what we're having a hard time figuring out, and I think the viewers too. We've heard so hard it is to pass with restrictor plate racing. You can't work your way to the front, but Darrell did just that and got right up with the lead pack before he pitted. How?
Well, right now, Mike, you know, the car is just working so well, and he's just driving a super race. I really don't have a good explanation. The boys back in the motor room have just been thrashing their guts out since Daytona, and you know, it's just one of those deals where we got everything working pretty good today, so I just hope it stays together.
Well, and I see you guys were inspired. You had the best pit stop of that round, 12.6 seconds.
Well, we really try hard, you know, to give Darrell every advantage we can, and pit stops is where we get a chance to, you know, do that. So, you know, I'm proud of the guys. They did a good job on pit road.
Jeff Hammond, who led this crew to a Daytona 500 win, with Waltrip stretching it out on gas. They'll have to make at least one more pit stop. Some of these teams, maybe two.
Well, Mike, the fans might wonder, well, why if he made such a good pit stop, why he's not leading the race? And he was leading before they started this round of green flag pit stops. Terry Labonte's out front now. Of course, he made a very good pit stop as well, but apparently Terry Labonte and Mark Martin got in and out the pits a little bit faster than did Darrell Waltrip, and so now Waltrip finds himself in the third position.
And we have two Fords running first and second, Chevrolet in third. 111 of 188 laps complete. We'll return with more live coverage of the DieHard 500 after this message and a word from your local station. Driving on 188 complete. Labonte was out in front. Martin, Waltrip running right with him. The Buick Open is coming up next this afternoon on CBS, and here's their leaderboard. Payne Stewart, Thompson, Hal Sutton, all up there on the top. And right now, look at the top here. Here is Waltrip down to the bottom of the racetrack, and we have foreboding skies over turn one. We've had reports of a smattering of rain down here. So for these drivers, since we're past that halfway point, these drivers are probably being told on their radio to stand on it. Now is the hour. It may not go the full distance. So Waltrip goes around. Martin holds up by Schrader. He goes into first. You can see the darkness over turn number one. Schrader, the defending champion, making a run on Waltrip. Then you see the number 11 car, Terry Labonte, the Ford, leading just a few moments ago. He and Mark Martin round out the top four. back to the stripe.
Interesting. The Fords have been dominant here. We have Chevrolets first and second, Fords third and fourth.
Next time to the stripe, Hale have completed 118 of 188 laps.
Those two Chevrolets trying to hook up now to pull away from those two Fords.
We have the same idea.
Yeah.
Working together a little here. Front four, back to the line. Perhaps one of those in-car cameras could give us an idea what kind of weather conditions they have down here. When there had been a report from a couple of the drivers that they thought they were getting some rain in 1 and 2. It doesn't look like it right now. Here's from Davey Allison. Radar is saying that there's heavy rain about 8 miles away from here. So they just might get...
That should be here pretty soon, and these drivers are obviously aware of that information and playing their cards accordingly.
Well, we're past halfway, so the race is official if we got into a storm, but I would presume they'd wait a bit and try to get the last part of this race home.
Yes, they would. Of course, they would. NASCAR has a radar detector, and they monitor the weather all the time, and they would certainly try to get the race in if they possibly could, even if they had to wait a couple of hours.
For people at home, these cars do not have windshield wipers, have slick tires, and cannot race in the rain. So once the rain falls, the race will either be yellow flag to slow it down or red flag to stop it. And here our new leader, Kenny Schrader, by half a car length.
Schrader pulling up on the outside and going for the lead. They seem to realize it's desperation time here. Schrader going to first. Here's Mike.
Jeff Hammond, did you have a look at those dark clouds and send Darrell Waltrip out front?
Well, we've been discussing the weather, and all we told Darrell was, we try to keep him up to date on what we saw, but get himself in the best possible position where he could make a move if he felt like he needed to. So I think he's back there right now trying to find out where he wants to be in case we have to call him and tell him to make a move with us out front or with us running second or third.
Okay, well, those darkest clouds are down in turn number 1, and the drivers see them every time they go past the start-finish line and head to 1. Let's go to Dave Despain.
And here in Kenny Schrader's crew, they have radioed Schrader to tell him what NASCAR told them, and that is the rain is south of the speedway. They don't expect rain to fall on the racetrack. Perhaps more importantly, Schrader's crew is concerned because he's able to follow the leaders, but he's having difficulty leading the race. He can occasionally pass, but he's having a tough time staying there. Third player in that game is Terry Labonte. He's pitted just down the way. Tim Brewer, his crew chief. I said, Tim, have you told Terry anything about the rain? And he looked up and he grinned and he said, I don't have to tell him nothing. He's a pilot. He knows if it's going to rain. And shortly after that, he took the lead.
Mark Martin on the outside is going on the high side for third position. Waltrip is challenging for the lead. 121 laps complete this time by.
It almost looked like Terry Labonte backed off there for just a moment because Martin went by with ease, and now Labonte has, well, he hasn't lost the draft yet, but he's certainly dropped back.
Morgan Shepherd is in fifth. Shepherd back in that fifth spot with his Pontiac.
Now the Chevrolets are holding the inside line on the track.
You see Bill Elliott running right behind him. He's in sixth. Davey Allison in seventh. Leaders. Schrader first, trying to become the second man to win this race back-to-back. Dale Earnhardt did it. 83 and 84, it was Earnhardt. Now here comes Waltrip to the inside as he continues his relentless pursuit of becoming the first man to win it 3 times. Fades a little to the outside, comes up on his teammate. Those two Hendrick Chevrolets, first and second, and then the Fords. Jack Welch and Junior Johnson are right there. Great race in Talladega in the DieHard 500. Stay with us for more. Talladega Superspeedway. There are the front 4 cars. 125 laps of 188 complete this time by. Waltrip, Schrader with Chevys out in front. Mark Martin and Terry Labonte Fords running 3 and 4. It's a Pontiac in 5th. And then there's a bit of an interval back to the 6th, 7th, and 8th. There you see the front 4 cars on the 18-degree banking coming to the stripe. And then looking further back, you'll see the 5th place car, Morgan Shepherd, Bill Elliott in 6th, Davey Allison now 7th, Neil Bonnet is in 8th, Sterling Marlin is in 9th, Harry Gant is in 10th, and it is Joe Ruttman in 11th, Dale Earnhardt is in 12th, Bobby Hill in 13th.
And 14th is Kyle Petty, Alan Kowicki is in 16th position, and Rick Wilson 17th. Only 17 cars now on the lead lap.
1 lap down in the 18th spot. Is young Bodine. Brett Bodine is back there in that 18th position.
That leading quartet is almost a half lap ahead of his pursuers.
6.5 seconds from the front four back to Morgan Shepherd.
And then behind Shepherd, the bulk of the other competitors are about a half lap down.
Labonte dropping 4 or 5 car lengths back from Mark Martin. They were running that tight tandem there for a while. Now he has dropped back just some. We saw him have a little problem here about 4 laps ago. Back again.
And here's some trouble coming on the front straightaway.
Got a car in trouble in the wall. And it's Joe Ruttman in the Lake Speed car. Tangling with the wall, taking the front off. That is the same team that had that disaster at Pocono a week ago when Lake Speed broke his shoulder blade in 2 places. They put Joe Ruttman into the car for today. The car, they got upside down at Daytona in the Firecracker 400, and misfortune continues to follow them.
Right, the car was wrecked twice in February at Daytona. This is the 5th wreck for this team this year. I hope Joe is all right. That was an awfully hard hit.
You can see the safety people now running over to him. The front end of the car just devastated. Now the safety people getting to Joe Ruttman, pulling and you can see him moving inside the car. They have the safety net off, the windshield cracked. Joe Ruttman is moving around in the car.
Crash on lap 126. 4th caution period of the day for Joe Ruttman. Directly across from pit road. The storm seems to be skirting this track down past the 1st and 2nd corner. Now watch it rain immediately, but that seems to be the situation. Safety crews working to get Joe Ruttman out of car number 83 to get that steering wheel off, have the pin out. Joe's a tall fellow, not as tall as his famous brother Troy Ruttman, former Indy winner. Mike Joy can give us more on this. Mike?
Ken, we saw Joe come into the tri-oval low, and the car just started a lazy looping spin as if perhaps that he had just cut a tire, and the car, he just completely lost control, and it angled up. When the car finally, after it stopped spinning and caught some traction, was angled up toward the wall, went straight up to it as if he had no steering control at all, as if he had cut down one of the tires on that machine. He bounced off the wall, littering the track with debris, so most all the lead cars will take this opportunity to come in and at least check those tires and top off with gas under the caution.
And Mike, you might wonder if they'll wait late in the caution to do that because of the threat of rain. Maybe they'll come in the first time when the pit road is open, but it'll be interesting to see.
Well, the pit boards are out all up and down the pit lane here, Ned. Sometimes we've seen them throw the dummy, put out the board, and not stop. But now it looks like pit lane is going to get busy, and most of the lead cars will come in. Here's Waltrip. Stops right on the markers. He'll get at least right side tires. If he were getting lefts, there'd already be a man over there to open those, take off those left side lug nuts. Same with Morgan Shepherd and Davey Allison. All right side tires at this end of the pit lane. Here's Dave.
Down at Ken Schrader's pit, they have changed the right side tires. They are now going to the left, and the man that he will be racing when he comes out is pitted just up ahead of him, and Mark Martin will beat Kenny Schrader out of the pit. Schrader balks just a moment and nearly clipped the gas man off the 7th car of Kowicki. Let's go back to Mike Joy.
Well, Waltrip and Morgan Shepherd changed strategy a little bit. They decided to go to the left side and take on 4 tires. There is trouble on the Davey Allison car. They cannot get the right rear tire changed. They're working underneath with the urine. More in a minute. Back to Dave.
Alan Kowicki's last pit stop was a disaster. This one only slightly less serious. The car died as he was exiting the pits. Stop itself was decent, but the engine died, and they lost a couple of seconds getting out.
Davey Allison sitting in car number 28. Won at Talladega earlier this year, the Winston 500. Won at Daytona in the 400. See if we can discern what happened here to Joe Ruttman.
Of course, he's already sideways and had already hit the wall and comes down off the wall to the inside of the track. You can see Harry Gant in the green car that went by just clipping the grass, and then Ruttman goes back up into the wall, hits it hard, almost gets over on the side, comes back down on 4 wheels, and slides down to the inside of the racetrack where it came to a stop.
When this track was built, Bill Fred said that the banking at the start-finish line and turns would make it a self-cleaning track, and we saw that in practice just there.
Last week, this is what we saw at Pocono, Pennsylvania for this same team. Heartbreaking period for Lake Speed and Company. Take a look at what happened to car number 83 with Greg Sachs just a week back.
Well, he got bumped going into the turn. That's Greg Sachs in car number 48. They get together and slam hard into the boilerplate retaining wall, and Greg Sachs goes over and over and over. I think they counted the rolls 7 times before it finally came to a rest on its top. A little fire under the hood. It went out very quickly. Well, maybe not too quickly, but it did go out.
Remarkable part is Greg Sachs unscathed. He is here without a car. Lake Speed broke his shoulder blade in 2 places. I saw his little daughter, 4 years old, the other day, and I said, "How are you?" And she said, "Fine." I said, "How's your father?" He said, he has a very bad boo-boo on his shoulder.
Yeah. Well, Lake will be out for perhaps
3 months.
Yeah, maybe 2 to 3 months.
Mike.
And they're going to change on Davey Allison's car now, the left side tires. There was not so much a problem on the car, but Tony Price and Robert Yates wanted to change the adjustment of the pannered rod that runs across the rear end. They've raised it to the next higher mounting point. That way the car won't be so tight coming off the corner and will help Davey get a little better bite and better handling. Now they're going to change that same adjustment of the rod on the left side. It does take a little time, but they should be able to get him back out without losing a lap and top off the tank.
Davey Allison away and back into this thing. 129 laps are complete. On the restart, Waltrip will be on the point.
This pit stop, this yellow flag did not come at the right time to save the last pit stop. Nobody will have enough gas to make it to the checkered flag, so everybody will have to come in for a splash before this race is over.
Jeff Hammond really did the job for Darrell, didn't he, fellas?
Yes, he did. They went in first, came out first. Ken Schrader went in second and came out fourth. Mark Martin picked up a position, came in third and out second. Terry Labonte lost 3 positions, coming in fourth and coming out seventh. Morgan Shepherd lost a position, and Bill Elliott picked up 3 positions. He came in running 6th and came out 3rd, so his crew did a great job.
Ready to resume. They'll get green as they come to lap 130. Point standings, Wallace is already out. He's going to go down some. Waldrop could be the big gainer. He came into this race in 3rd place in the Winston Cup standings. Elliott has come from, what, 33rd after Daytona, all the way to 4th. Elliott still very much a factor in this race, and so is Mark Martin. Martin is currently 5th in the standings. Everybody's talking about Elliott's comeback. He said, "Hey, this isn't a comeback. I've been here all season, except for one Friday afternoon in Daytona Beach."
He had had a tough February, but he's got this pit stop there. You're right up in the contention. It's like Pocono last week. He wasn't heard of all weekend long until the final lap of the race.
Look at Waldrop in the 17. He's done a breakaway. He cut in front of that lap car and got a very good start. And those Chevys seem to light up quicker, Ned, on those restarts, and the Fords just coming to speed. That long gear in the back straightaway you were talking about.
They have very good acceleration from the start, no question about that. And of course, the transmission that they have could be, all of them has the same option as far as transmissions are concerned, but some of them do use different gearing there, and that can have a great deal to do with your restarts.
Nobody catches him asleep on a restart.
58 laps to go. Back to the line, and now Waldrop is overhauled.
Yeah, when
the freight train catches him.
Yeah, it didn't take long once they got hooked up together to run him down.
And blazing by him comes Mark Martin. Martin, the Batesville, Arkansas traveler, goes up the outside and goes into the lead and blows on by with Elliott with him. Here comes Bill. Schrader on the outside, and here comes Morgan Shepherd back, and Sterling Marlin, all battling for the lead.
Oh, what a difference a pit stop can make.
Well, Darrell Waltrip needs himself a dancing partner. Ken Schrader has pulled out. Maybe he can get behind him, but he definitely needs somebody to race with. They left him high and dry there on the inside.
They left him low and dry.
Yeah, okay.
Martin out in front, still looking for his first win in Winston Cup racing. He has yet to qualify worse than 7th in 17 races. So they've got the handle on how to get that car up in the front for the start. The issue is getting it to finish on the point.
Out of line now. Waltrip is out of the line. Now he's getting back in. Look what it cost him.
He's going to have trouble getting back in that line.
Well, look at the group, though, that hooked up together, moved around Mark Martin exactly the way they did Darrell Waltrip in the lap before. Now they put Mark Martin in the same position. They said, let's get together here, fellas, and pass him on the outside, and away they went.
So Rumbling back through the standings goes Mark Martin. Just an incredible race. And look at this number 25. Here comes the Hendrick Racing Stable Chevrolet with the campaigner from Missouri, the sprint car champion, Kenny Schrader, showing those colors up in front for Papa Joe Hendrick right now. Reviewing, Martin has lost that lead. Schrader is up in front. Here comes Morgan Shepherd for second spot. Just a great race. Elliott into third. The Pontiac noses in there. Chevrolet first. Pontiac second. Ford in third. This race seems to get better every year. You say, how are they going to make it better?
Exactly.
Somebody writes a new script.
Prove on it. Can't wait for the last lap.
$743,717 in posted awards, plus a little matter of $114,000 bonus for Mark Martin if he can win, having sat on the pole.
Of course, we're looking out the rear view mirror of Sterling Marlin. That's Terry Labonte behind him.
There's Waltrip. Back they go, 3 wide into turn number 1, 2 wide for the lead. Shepherd takes a high ride, and here comes Terry Labonte on the bottom. Car number 11 from Corpus Christi, Texas. Terry Labonte noses in between cars.
Shovels it in there.
Boy, he had a shoehorn for that one. For turn 3, Shepherd back in front. Shepherd determined to win on one of these super speedways.
Pontiac, Ford, Chevrolet in the top 3 positions. It's a great battle of the brands.
Laps complete this time by as Morgan Shepherd stays in front. Looks like a record crowd here. Terry Labonte coming to second. Schrader in third. Sterling Marlin putting his Oldsmobile back into serious contention here again. Stay with us for the exciting finish of the DieHard 500. In the DieHard 500 at Talladega Speedway, Talladega, Alabama, fastest track in the world, running with restrictor plates this year, still averaging 192, 103, and 93 miles an hour per lap. Average for the race is down after we have experienced 4 cautions to date. The latest, Joe Ruttman took a very hard hit here in the Tri-Oval and tore up the Lake Speed car. Here you see the front 3. Morgan Shepherd, Darrell Waltrip, Ken Schrader, 1, 2, and 3. Bill Elliott is in 4th. Terry Labonte is in 5th. Davey Allison 6th. Martin 7th. Dale Earnhardt and Neil Bonnet in that top scrapping pack. Here come the front 3 by another time. At the stripe, it is Morgan Shepherd with Earnhardt going to the inside. Terry Labonte working right there with him.
And Darrell Waltrip going for the lead down on the inside of Morgan Shepherd. Those 3 cars have pulled away just a little bit from the 4th place car of Terry Labonte, but Waltrip decided he could pull them faster maybe than Morgan Shepherd was, so he said, let me up front, see what I can do. There you see a bunch of Fords racing together. Davey Allison trying to move on the inside of Bill Elliott. Mark Martin right in the thick of that battle. And there's Terry Labonte sitting in 4th place, sort of by himself as those Fords race behind him. Dale Earnhardt right behind those 3 Fords.
If you're just joining us, the fact that Bill Elliott is out here is as amazing as the story of Darrell Waltrip. Take a look at what happened earlier in this race to car number 9, turn 4.
Well, the air was just taking him out from under the back end of the car as he battled for position coming off of turn 2, and he spun down to the inside on the grass. Finally hits the embankment down on the inside. Not too hard, didn't do too much damage to the car. They say that the front end alignment is out slightly, but doesn't look like it's hurting him too much.
They had that caution period with the Ruttman incident and had the chance to work on that car, and apparently it's on the mend. Here's Dave Despain.
They, in fact, elected not to try to change the toe-in on the car during that yellow flag because, number one, and most obviously, the car had found itself back up at the front of the pack. Their concern was that if they made 2 stops to get the car exactly right, they'd fall all the way back to the tail end of the field. They have not shown Darrell Waltrip's ability to jet to the front, but Elliott has steadily climbed the ladder and is running in that top pack of a half dozen cars. So they're tickled to death with that. Perhaps most significantly, Bill says on the radio, the car's okay, but ain't nobody got nothing for Darrell Waltrip. That's a prediction, I think, here from the Florida's camp. Let's go down to Mike Joy.
Well, one fellow may have something for him. It's Davey Allison. Robert Yates is team owner and engine builder, and I know you figured out restrictor plate racing pretty good, as evidenced by your record on these tracks, but that chassis adjustment you just made has put Davey from the back after these pit stops. He's marched his way right to the front.
Well, we thought it was going to be really hot today, and it's cooled off. We got this cloud, and as the rubber's been put on the racetrack, it's just we set up too tight, so we made some adjustments a while ago. It says the car is still just a little bit tight, but it looks definitely a lot faster. So if it'll hold together, we might be there too.
Now it's clear he has the handling to get back up front. Does he have the engine now to pull him around those front cars?
Well, we don't think we've got those guys covered on the engine too much. The guys have worked awful hard, but we won Daytona, and I think maybe we didn't work hard enough. These other guys were on mad, and they came back with more power. And we've been struggling this week. The guys worked 11:30, 12 o'clock last night, try to come up with something new, and didn't. And so we just, we came out here and we just try to race real smart, and it's working out pretty good right now.
And he's up with that lead pack after a late pit stop. Remember, gentlemen, he topped off for gas 2 laps later than anyone else made a pit stop on this last round.
Davey Allison pulling himself up through traffic into 3rd spot. This DieHard 500. The DieHard 500 will continue on CBS following these messages. 145 laps, and we've just had a major incident in turn number 1 here at Talladega, Alabama. Alan Kowicki has slammed hard into the outside wall. The 1986 winner, Bobby Hillin, has also crashed. Caution is out around the track for the 5th time. We just experienced our 40th lead change, and then we had this major crash in turns 1 and 2. Alan Kowicki and his car number 7, Ford Thunderbird. Sterling Marlin's car is apparently on fire. We're just out of the bottom. He's bent some of that car up. He's trying to drive it around and get it back.
Yeah, he was involved in the accident as well. He's trying to get back to the pits. Apparently one or more of the tires were down, and we saw sparks coming from underneath the car.
Well, that's unfortunate for Sterling and for Billy Hagan, who had such high expectations for today.
Well, here's one of the tires off of one of the cars still coming around the racetrack.
Ambulance and crews are down there with Alan Kowicki's car in turn 1.
Well, Sterling has come to a halt, taking the steering wheel off. He just couldn't get her back to the pits. Takes his gloves off, lays the steering wheel up on the dash.
Longest walk in sports.
Yep.
Talking on the radio now.
When you leave one behind.
Tough break. He really was running good. That tire still, it's going to maybe make it back to the pits. Somebody might put that on another car here a little bit.
Sterling Marlin.
You don't know whether to leave that steering wheel on or take it off.
When Sterling Marlin first was going to come here to race at Talladega, his father, Cuckoo Marlin, was still racing and racing hard, and they didn't know how to tell his late mother, Eula Fay, that there were going to be 2 of them down there. And the story is that over the dinner table one night, Cuckoo, who never said very much, said, "Eula Fay, pass the potatoes. Sterling's going to race Talladega."
Okay, let's see if we can see what happens. There's Sterling Marlin following Dale Earnhardt into turn 1, and the wreck had happened in front of him. That was Alan Kowicki that we saw spinning in front of him, and Sterling apparently trying to maneuver around, got into one of the cars.
I think he hits the wall right here, yeah.
They're all
Here's Mike.
More Morgan Shepherd gets a wipe of the windshield and a cold drink from his crew. He'll also get 4 tires from Bob Rahilly, Butch Mock, and the team. He had just put the nose of that Pontiac in the wind when the caution flag came out. Darrell Waltrip in right alongside, and Waltrip will get 4 tires as well, and see if they'll make a handling change on Darrell's car to get him back up in the front. No movement on the screw jacks to adjust the weight distribution, and they send Waltrip away.
Make it from here.
Take a last look. That's it, because there's enough gas in all the cars now to get to the checkered flag.
Let's take a look at the end of that incident again in turns 1 and 2.
You can see Bobby Hillen on the high side of the racetrack. That's Alan Kowicki down on the inside, and Sterling Marlin had just gone past him in front of him there. And Bill Ingram, boy, just barely gets through. Good job.
He had a little hesitation there on which way to go.
Apparently, Kowicki's car got collected a little by the number 94 car. There you see that Oldsmobile being pushed in.
Well, here's what it's like being towed from the bumper cam. Of course, he's being pushed in.
See him go up on the banker a little?
Yeah.
Down on the apron.
It's a tough break because Sterling Marlin was running good. So was Bobby Hillen and Alan Kowicki. And I'll tell you, Alan Kowicki has gone through a period here in about the last 6 races that he's had either engine problems or now involved in a wreck here. He has dropped from the top 5 in the point standings to way down coming into this race.
41 lead changes among 12 drivers. That's a new record for the season at 41. The old record was at Martinsville at 34. This Die Hard 500 continues on CBS. We'll have more live flag-to-flag coverage after this word from your local station.
Seems to be a problem that is on
point. And here's Bobby Hillen's car coming in. It's been beaten up. Point contenders are taking a real shellacking here today. The second place man, Rusty Wallace, is out, and Jeff Bodine, who was
in 7th place in the points going into this race. They both went out in the same wreck early. Sterling Marlin now, who was in 8th place in the point standings, is having trouble. Alan Kowicki, I mentioned a moment ago that he dropped way down in the points. He was 13th coming into this race.
148 laps are complete, so it is a sprint from here to the finish. They all have enough fuel on board. Remember what Tom Higgins said of the Charlotte Observer after the Daytona race. Remember where Darrell just ran and ran on fuel? He said Darrell snatched victory from the depths of a seemingly empty fuel tank. That will not be the case today. Here's Mike.
No, Ken, they all can go the distance on fuel and, of course, tires. Davey Allison is in the lead, and for a good reason. A calculated move by team owner Robert Yates. Everybody else went for tires all around, and you didn't. Why?
Well, we got a good set. You know, on there right now seem to be working good, and, you know, tire wear's not been a problem, so as long as we don't get a cut or something, we're just as well off on these tires, I think, as, you know, putting a set on and maybe coming out just a little bit different. So, we're ready to go.
Now, the rights have only been on there for 20 or so laps. What about the lefts?
We're in good shape on those. There should be no problem on tires.
Okay, sometimes new tires are quicker than worn tires, so we'll see if Allison can hold his position on the restart.
That's an interesting observation about the new tires, because, Ned, they're quicker, but not for long, are they?
Not for long, no. After 2, 3, 4, 5 laps, then they level off, but they will run faster for just a few laps.
Restart lineup will have Davey Allison first, Terry Labonte second, Neil Bonnett's third, Ken Schrader is fourth, Morgan Shepherd fifth, Mark Martin sixth, Rick Wilson seventh, Darrell is shown as eighth, Kyle Petty ninth, Bill Elliott 10th, Harry Gant 11th, Dale Earnhardt 12th, Hot Strickland 13th, Dick Trickle 14th, Phil Barkdahl in 15th, lap down Brett Bodine in 16th, Dave Marcus is in 17th, Ernie Irvan is 18th, Richard Petty 19th. Golf is next today here on CBS. Stay with us. It's the final round coming up this afternoon of the Buick Open.
There are 12 cars in the lead lap now. Dale Earnhardt running in the 12th position is the last car on the lead lap. Hut Strickland had been running up there with the leaders about all day, but he had made a green flag pit stop not too long before this caution came out, got him a lap down, but he is currently in 13th position.
The right side of his car has got a lot of body damage on it.
Yeah, that happened in that early wreck that took out Rusty Wallace and Jeff Bodine.
Let's see if Allison can win his third straight of the Superspeedways. Won the Winston 500 here in May at Talladega, came back and won at Daytona, 4th of July in the Pepsi Firecracker 400. Shooting for number 3. And let's see what Waltrip can do from back in 8th. Remember what Waltrip has said in this race. Don't let somebody else dictate. You be the dictator.
He's got a lot of traffic to get through if he wants to be back up front.
Well, the front two were first and second finishers here in the Winston 500 back in May. Davey Allison won it with Terry Labonte right on his bumper, as he is right now.
Down the back straightaway, and the long back stretch going to turn number 3. Allison stretches it just a little.
And here's Neil Bonnett running in 3rd place. This is the first time we've seen him up front. The Wood brothers doing a good job on a pit stop and got him right up there in the thick of it.
It's Ford's 1, 2, and 3 now.
And already Waltrip is beginning to take some ducks out of the shooting gallery. He is finding himself a couple of quick. Now you see him up into 6th from 8th.
Neil Bonnett driving the car number 21. Of course, right behind him is Kenny Schrader in car number 25 with Morgan Shepherd, who has been able to pass the cars in front of him today. He's going to follow Schrader around on the outside, but here comes Mark Martin down on the inside. He's going to make it 3 abreast, Ken.
Waltrip back in 7th, 6th but 7th, pulls up with Martin, and they're going to try to shoot it on the inside. Here they come.
He's found himself a trailblazer.
Yep, found himself a dancing partner. Now Martin gets back in line. He didn't work with Waltrip too long, but maybe Waltrip has enough to get around Morgan Shepherd, but Shepherd has been hanging tough all day.
152 of 188 complete this time by. Davey Allison in 1st. Terry Labonte in 2nd. Schrader in 3rd. Mark Martin to 4th. Morgan Shepherd's Pontiac 5th. Up to 6th. Waltrip. Peeking down the inside. Here comes that Junior Johnson Ford down on the bottom of the racetrack. Will he go by himself? No, he has Schrader with him and Mark Martin.
And they're going to leave Davey Allison out to dry. It is on the high side this time. Drops him back to 4th, maybe even further back.
And running the very high lane, Waltrip pulls up behind Morgan Shepherd.
From Broadway to the Bowery in 1 lap.
He did. He dropped all the way from 1st to 6th position.
Waltrip is just sorting them out now. Just playing some cards, taking a look at them, discarding some, keeping others. Saw him take that very high line. Here you see tight formation for the lead. And to the inside comes the Chevrolet this time. Schrader goes up. Morgan Shepherd comes back. Waltrip eases to the inside as the number 6, the blue car. Mark Martin on the high side, and Terry Labonte fade back into the 4th and 5th position.
This is stock car racing at its very best.
It's live on CBS from Talladega Superspeedway. Into turn 1. Davey Allison hooks up with Waltrip on the inside. They try to scoot along that bottom lane. Front 2 cars pulling away just a bit. Ken Schrader. Morgan Shepherd with him. Morgan still stung about Daytona and the firecracker.
Said he didn't see the white flag. And thought that when the checkered flag came out, he thought he was getting the white flag. He just made a misjudgment there and thought he could have won the race. He finished 2nd to Davey Allison.
Here comes that Pontiac to the bottom side. Conover, North Carolina's Morgan Shepherd going for the lead. Missouri, Schrader in 2nd. Texas, Labonte is running 3rd. Waltrip pulling up into 4th.
There is Sonia Shepherd with her hands folded, saying a prayer for her husband Morgan.
Turn 1. Shepherd stays in front. Waltrip trying that higher line. Davey Allison on the bottom. And here comes Mark Martin alongside him.
Yeah, I think he got caught down there, Davey did, and Darrell Wolfen went by on the outside.
Neil Bonnet on the top. If you're not in line, you're in the wrong place.
Yep.
Neil Bonnet in 7th, Rick Wilson in 8th. something. This crowd has had a big workout as the drivers here today. They haven't had a chance to sit down for 3 hours. Morgan Shepherd holding on to a slim lead over Ken Schrader, Terry Labonte, Darrell Waltrip, Davey Allison, and Mark Martin in the DieHard 21st 500. 500 race summary is sponsored by Quaker State Motor Oil, where the big Q stands for quality. After 415 of 500 miles, 12 liters, 45 lead changes, 153 mile an hour average, even though we've had 5 cautions for 24 laps. Of the 13 retirees, here are the causes. Bill Parsons, one of the first out. We had a big 4-car crash. Stan Barrett's car was taken out. The latest incident, Bobby Hillen and Alan Kowicki's cars have been retired. Presumably they're still working a bit to get the 94. Sterling Marlin about. Here are the top 5 positions. Shepherd stays first. Waltrip has come to second with his Chevrolet. And then you see behind him Mark Martin, Terry Labonte, Davey Allison. Number 9, Bill Elliott, has been on pit road. Apparently he had a tire cut, and so he has fallen back. He just made a stop a moment ago and has returned to the track, but he is not in this lead pack. Here's Mike.
You've seen Sonia Shepherd for most of this race sitting with her head in her hands here, not because of the heat, but in prayer. You folks have been waiting for a win like this for such a long time.
Yeah, it's been 3 long years. Thanks to Butch and Bob, they finally gave us an opportunity now that hopefully we can get back in the winner's circle again. And all week long I've just been praying because I felt good about coming up here. And right now I've prayed so hard to God, and that if he sees it his will that we win, fine, and if he don't, then I guess I'll have to settle for that.
Okay, but why aren't you up here watching the race?
I'm so nervous I don't think I could stand up. I think my feet would just probably, my knees would fall out from under me.
Well, let's go meet another wife of one of the drivers who's expecting more than a victory today. Dave?
Indeed, Ann Schrader is also way back in the back of the pit area because you've got a baby on the way. And when's the baby due?
Christmas Day.
You think that's going to happen, huh? A big Christmas present.
I hope so. At least I know my husband won't be at a race.
He's going to be able to pay for an awful lot of diapers here today, potentially the way he's running. You think he can win this race?
Hopefully so. I just want him to be real careful and be the first one across the start-finish line today.
Just before we walked over, I talked to Dennis Conner, his crew chief, and he said those guys are getting crazy out there. Would you rather be up there where you could see or sitting back down here?
No, I think down here. Much better. Appreciate it.
That's Ann Schrader. Let's go back topside.
Leader speed 192 miles an hour. 161 of 188 complete. There you see them. Shepherd first. Waltrip fading a little to the outside, containing Mark Martin in that board in third.
That's a dignified word, Ken, containing.
Ken, you mentioned a moment ago that Bill Elliott had made an unscheduled pit stop. He did stay in the lead lap, but as a result of running out there by himself, the leaders have run him down. He has gone a lap down. Now 11 cars on the lead lap, and they're all running in that front pack.
And a new leader. Waltrip busting down to the inside, barreling out in front on a turn number 2, and Mark Martin brings his Ford with him. Chevrolet first, Ford second, Pontiac third, 1, 2, 3, back straight away. Incredible race. Davey Allison gives you a look. Front of the field, he's running 5th. There you see Terry Labonte just in front, averaging 192 miles an hour, out for a Sunday drive here on CBS at Talladega Speedway. $700,000 DieHard 500 21st annual event. 1 year ago, Ken Schrader won it, his first Winston Cup victory. Shepherd is coming back for the lead. Morgan Shepherd down to the inside. My, how that car works. Look at him just tunneling in down there. On the outside, there's the power of Waltrip.
Yeah, and along with the help of Mark Martin coming up to traffic, and that'll help him move on by Morgan Shepherd. We'll see. That might not have been a good move on Morgan Shepherd's part. He couldn't get anybody to go with him, and he's going to lose several positions as a result of it.
He tried to ease back in line. There was no place to go. You could see him just make that little maneuver, and everybody said, no, thank you, we don't need you here.
That's right. There is an opening if he can get in front of Davey Allison. Allison very high there now. Morgan has Ken Schrader back behind him, trying to help him out a little bit, and he finally does get back in line.
163 laps complete. 10 cars in the lead lap. Gant completes that lap.
Look at Mark Martin hunting, looking to the left, looking to the right. Waltrip is driving with one eye in the mirror.
staying up in that lead lap as well as Kyle Petty, having a very good day. Davey Allison there, and here's Schrader just barely in front of Davey Allison.
You can see how much Davey picks up on the draft and just builds up enough momentum to run right on by. That was a good move on Davey's part. He got back. He was far enough behind that he picked up the draft and just took off.
They couldn't hold it. Schrader back on the outside, containing Allison. Up in front, Darrell Waltrip trying to be the first man in history to win the DieHard 500 3 times. And he has a lead of back with you. 21 to go, 20 when they come by this time, as Darrell Waltrip maintains the lead by a margin as scant as what you see on your screen right now. Mark Martin lies second, Chevrolet first, Ford second, Ford in third, Pontiac in fourth. That's Morgan Shepherd's car. In fifth is Ken Schrader, sixth is Davey Allison, seventh is Rick Wilson, eighth is Kyle Petty, ninth is Dale Earnhardt, 10th is Harry Gant, all in this lead lap as we get ready to sugar this one off. There you see the number 3 car, and driving that car in 8th place, Dale Earnhardt, setting a very good pace. Remember, the 9 car had to make an unscheduled stop for a tire change here a few moments ago and has fallen off that lead lap. Here's Mike Joy.
Chatting with Dick Brooks, a former winner of this race, and we agree that when Morgan Shepherd and Waltrip got side by side, Mark Martin, by going with Waltrip, played his card and indicated he feels Shepherd is tougher. So go with Waltrip, who he thinks might be easier to beat, and kick Shepherd out of the draft and to the back. So heads up move by Mark Martin, and standing in his pits, Dave Despain.
As they go flashing by start finish, Martin is tucked right onto Darrell Waltrip's bumper. Let's ask the team manager for Mark Martin, Steve Meal, who do you fear most in this race?
Well, Darrell Waltrip, you know, typically with a restrictor plate, you can't pass on the last lap. And we feel like Darrell Waltrip has the speed and the experience and the savvy to hold us off. The 75 car's awful good. We think the world of Terry Labonte. Everybody lined up we're worried about, because if you do pull out, they're all going to get you. So we're kind of counting down laps, kind of figuring, wondering, looking who's slipping and sliding. We're having a ball, and it ain't quite over yet.
Are you coaching him through this, or are you going to let him decide when and where to make his move?
Well, Mark Martin's about as sharp as they come, so I figure he can do what he needs to do. If he asks us where somebody is or what it looks like on the bottom or the outside or who's quick, we'll sure tell him. Like there's a move he's trying to make right there, but they probably won't line up behind it. It's going to be tough, because they're not going to line up behind Mark Martin. They're going to go with Darrell Waltrip.
I think the interesting point there is how much fun this team that's only a year and a half old is having. They've won 6 poles. They haven't won a race. If they win this one, there's a $114,000 bonus in it for coming from the pole position to victory.
And Martin pops out in front.
Okay, what he's doing there is practicing. He's figuring out where the best place to pass Darrell Waltrip. There'll be more passes for the lead before this race is over, but there's only 18 laps to go. Ned, you're sitting at number 6. Where would you attack Darrell Waltrip? On the inside, on the outside, the turn, or on the straight?
Well, I certainly would try to make the move that he just made, and I think he's going to have to make it off of turn 4 and try to beat him back to the start-finish line. It's a long way to the start-finish line from turn 4, but if you get enough momentum build up, then you can hold it.
But we saw him move up in his way a few laps ago. That's the very same situation.
Yeah, it depends on who works with you and who does not.
Schrader to the inside. And sweeping into first, bringing Terry Labonte with him. Mark Martin falling to third, Waltrip to fourth. Those Chevy Luminas have come a long way since they were introduced at Talladega back at the Winston 500 in the spring.
They certainly have. You got 7 cars there running in the lead draft. They're all in the lead lap. 3 other cars not too far behind them in the lead lap. Look at Waltrip go back to the inside once again.
There's Arlene Martin standing by, looking on. A little concern out there. And look at this battle as they're 3 wide again, coming down through out of 4. Martin pressed against the wall. In the middle, Terry Labonte. Waltrip on the bottom, putting a lap on Dale Jarrett as they come through, squeezing over in between cars. Waltrip almost into the side of Davey Allison. Tight running at Talladega with 16 laps to go in the 21st running of the DieHard 500. And in this battle now, defending champion Ken Schrader has the advantage.
On this very hot day, we're looking at men with ice water in their veins out there on this racetrack.
Riding with Davey Allison. Picking his spot very carefully. You don't want to get caught outside of the draft and slip back. Look at this confrontation for the lead. Waltrip on the inside, Martin on the outside, and it is Mark Martin back in front, but here comes Waltrip low. Chevy and Ford, wheel to wheel. Down they come to the line, and Beans hold along. Waltrip brings Terry Labonte up into second spot. Martin falls to third. Schrader comes back on the outside, assisted by Davey Allison, and number 4 Oldsmobile, Rick Wilson.
The greatest stock car racing in the world.
At 190 miles an hour.
It's the best racing anyway. I mean, we got to stop this because I'm
going to go to the Italian Grand Prix. I can't stand all this passing.
Darrell Waltrip is out in front. The Chevy Lumina back into first. The Ford Thunderbird of the taciturn one, Junior Johnson, the old stoic, just looking on. Chris, you saw him this morning. Remember last year, Junior had a big iceberg he set on here, great big cake of ice for this race.
I asked him this morning if he's going to bring some ice. He said, no, we're going to tough it out.
And he's toughing it out right now with his driver, Terry Labonte, in second spot. The laps trickling down. Here comes Martin in that third spot. Keep waiting to have a race here that doesn't live up to expectation. It never happens. It's just such a grand event. Sterling Marlin is back on the track, giving it another shot, trying to stay up in the point battle. Sterling Marlin back out here again. He's currently 8th in the Winston Cup points.
Many laps down now, though.
Now look who's coming up on the bottom of the racetrack. The V on the front. That's that Morgan Shepherd car. Davey Allison swings right in behind him. Morgan Shepherd back into it another time. Who's going to win this one? What about it, Economaki? The old Dean of American
Race what we're watching is the silly season. Who's going to drive for what?
No. Don't change the issue. Who's going to win this thing?
Well, the best man, obviously.
The man that gets the best break on the last lap or two there, but I'll tell you, Darrell Waltrip is going to be awfully tough.
That's right.
But I think Terry Labonte is going to be very, very tough, too.
I think Mark Martin is going to reach into his bag of tricks and try everything he can to win it. He needs to win badly, and that extra $114,000 has got to be on his mind right now. He has never won that much in a single season.
Mike Nichols with Martin. Here he comes into second spot. It's Ford first and second now. Terry Labonte goes into the lead, and Mark Martin goes into second. Let's get a report from Mike Joy as we watch this tremendous battle.
Well, Ken, it's always been a Ford track. There's 2 of them out front right now, 2 Chevys and a Pontiac. I don't know. I'd like to see Mark Martin take home all that money and put another new name in the Talladega record book. It's always been a dark horse track. I'll go with the dark horse. How about it, Dave Despain?
Sentimental choice has got to be Martin because of the money, because he's never won, and because he's had 6 shots at that bonus this year. But I'll tell you what, the one thing that distinguishes that half dozen cars up front is the fact that 5 of them have been up front all day. Darrell Waltrip came from dead last to get up front. That car got crashed early, remember? I got to believe that Waltrip is stronger than the rest of them, and I think the strongest car will win Talladega.
Last time around, 191.8 for that lead squadron.
We keep talking about that bonus that Mark Martin can win. Of course, the Unocal folks put up $7,600 at every race, and then it is carried over like a skins game in golf until the pole winner wins, and it has accumulated now to $114,000.
Only winner this year has been Rusty Wallace after just a couple of races.
Yeah, the second race of the season.
Here you see Davey Allison right in behind Rick Wilson. Wilson, a name in the news these days as to where he will be racing next year. Many say he's really where we're going to be next year.
I'll tell you, if he could win this race, I think that he'd be a strong choice for the Junior Johnson ride next year.
10 to go next time by. Those leaders.
And look at there, 3 abreast they went for just a moment as Davey Allison dipped out on the inside, came out in good shape.
So Labonte is first, Martin is second, Waltrip is third with 10 to go here at Talladega. I'd like to thank Bob Bob Stenner and Bob Fishman with us year after year who give us these outstanding telecasts, our producer and director and this entire CBS crew. We think they always do it very, very well, and this particular crew over the years has stuck together. We don't do perhaps as many events as others, but they all like to come out and do these events, and they care a lot about how they do their races. Thank you, gentlemen.
This is the last one on the schedule for 1989.
Well, isn't it a grand one? Here we are with Terry Labonte up in that first spot, in that second position as they come rolling out of 4. Mark Martin, the youngster, Batesville, Arkansas. The Traveler takes a look on the outside, then ducks right back in. He's waiting his time. What a finish we're building for here. Take your choice. Ford, Chevrolet, Pontiac in it. Take your choice.
9 laps to go.
Carolina drivers. Down that line, they come in that very steady move now by Waltrip. You see them out to the wall again. Back straight away.
Now, these cars are really evenly matched, and it's come down to the man at the wheel that's going to win this race.
Waltrip, the man of the moment, going into turn number 3, underneath Martin to second. And you were riding with Davey Allison watching as he did it. Davey squares off and turns. Oh, he's sideways. Davey Allison losing a tire. You can see it shredding. He spins and slides down on turn number 4. Davey Allison out of control. You're riding with him, trying to correct this car. He's headed back for the track. He gets it back. The one place you do not want to be is back up on the track and slams it to a halt. Yellow is out.
You can see him quickly put it back in first gear, tries to get it to going so he can get back to the pits.
170 complete. Caution is out. They'll get this race started. We'll finish under green, and it is going to be some sprint to the line. How unfortunate for Davey Allison. He wheels through the pit so he doesn't lose a lap and comes right back out. He's lost the windshield. Windshield is gone out of car number 28 as Davey Allison. And they got a windshield ready. Standing right there is that crew, Robert Yates and company. You can't miss a beat no matter what happens. It's just like working in an emergency room. You have to perform surgery at any moment on all kinds of situations.
Same thing that happened to Bill Elliott earlier. The same kind of car, a Ford Thunderbird Aerocool.
Yep, the car at the back end just got loose on him. There goes the windshield. He spins down to the inside of the track, out of the way of everybody else.
At normal speed from the in-car camera, let's ride with Davey Allison as he lived through this moment at Talladega. He's spun about 1,700 feet and comes right back in and gets ready to race again. Here's Mike.
Well, the old windshield is, of course, gone. The new one will just have to be dropped in and taped into place. That's about a 20-second operation. And with that spin, he's likely flat-spotted the tires, so already they're changing the right side ones. Hooking things up for Allison. He'll get back out and back on track without any further problem. Here's Dave Despain.
Let's talk to Tim Brewer. The other Thunderbird here is sitting at the head of the pack. Tim, you got the stuff for him. Can you win this thing?
It's going to be pretty tough. You know, Darrell, his car is awful good on restarts. Mark's car is awful strong. We'll see here in just a few minutes.
Everybody's going to stay out there and go from here, right?
I guess that's the best equipment everybody's got.
Good luck to you. Let's go back to Mike Joy.
Well, so little damage. They don't even have to tape the windshield. They have these clips that hold it in, secured by Allen screws. So they fasten those down and put a little piece of tape on the left side just for security, and 4 fresh tires, which will get him back out on the track. Robert Yates is talking with his crew as Davey goes back out on track. Robert, did he explain what happened? No, he's going to have a word with him now. We'll get back with Robert in a moment.
Ned, one of the first times I saw you race was at Daytona, and I saw you come out of the 4th turn and practice down there and loop one of Bondi Long's cars about 3 times. Just easy loops, and you just kept right on. We just brought it back around and got some tires, went right back out. What does that do inside to you?
Well, I'll tell you, after I saw that I wasn't going to hit anything, I just sat there and enjoyed it as it spun around in the grass. But I'll tell you can have some anxious moments until you know that you aren't going to hit anything.
I think we can take a look now at who's good on a restart. The alertness of the drivers when this restart flag comes out is going to be very important as to who wins today.
Let's take a look at normal speed again, gentlemen, at that Davey Allison incident.
Darrell Waltrip had just gone down on the inside of Mark Martin. Davey Allison follows him in there.
Remarkable sound. That's how Davey saw it and how he heard it.
I think the back end just got light on him and it went around.
182 laps are complete of 188. Green flag with 5 to go. On the restart, Labonte will be up on the point, number 11. Darrell Waltrip will start second, Mark Martin third, Morgan Shepherd fourth, Ken Schrader fifth. Here's Mike Joy.
Right. Robert Yates, did he say what happened?
Yeah, he said Morgan just got up under him and turned him around.
Touch him or just take the air off him?
Well, at least took the air off of him.
Yeah. So Davey is back out. He'll have to climb for the back once again, and it's the third, maybe the fourth time today we've seen a car with the air up, set off that rear spoiler, and just come spinning around.
Yeah, I don't think he got hit, Mike. It certainly didn't look that way in any of the pictures.
Let's take a look at the leaders as they get set on this restart with 5 to go. Up in front, number 11, Terry Labonte. In second, number 17, Waltrip. In third, number 6, the blue car. That's Mark Martin in third. There you see him. Then in fourth, that is Morgan Shepherd, 75, the white car. In fifth is Ken Schrader. In sixth is that yellow car, Rick Wilson. In seventh is the green and white car of Harry Gant. Then comes Kyle Petty in eighth. Dale Earnhardt is ninth.
Phil Elliott's on the inside, and Waltrip is trying to get a run at him here.
Yeah, Bill just let him go with the restart. He wasn't going to hold him up. That was a very gentlemanly thing to do. Bill's a lap down, so he lets him go at it.
And he is in 10th spot. Bill Elliott a lap down in 10th. 9 cars now in the lead lap. There are 5 to go. They're coming to speed. Here with Davey Allison. Look at him bust through cars. Remember, he's coming way out of the back of the field as they come down through. He's bustling his way in.
I think he's in 10th place. I think there are 10 cars in the lead.
He's in the very tail, though. Yeah. He got trapped in behind some lap cars and couldn't get up through. His motion, you could see him motion to try to pull through. Meanwhile, in front, look at this. Labonte and Waltrip are trying to pull away from the field.
Yes, they are. They got a good jump on the field trying to separate themselves from the rest of it. Then they'll battle it out for a Ford and a Chevrolet. That was good maneuvering on their part.
184 complete. This time by 4 to go. Elliott has slipped over on the high side in front of Mark Martin.
And as those drivers battle for position back there, Ken, side by side, that's working to the advantage of Terry Labonte and Darrell Waltrip. They're just able to pull away.
That's right. Back straight away, Labonte in first for the Ford. Waltrip in second spot, and the interval continues to develop between the second place man, Waltrip, and those contenders back in third through ninth position.
I believe Waltrip will sit there and try to push he and Terry Labonte away from the rest of the drivers until that last lap.
And that's exactly what Waltrip has done. One of the sharpest, smartest drivers in the business. And remember what he had said earlier that we were discussing.
Said
you don't want to be dictated to, you want to dictate the event.
He said at the beginning he was going to wait till the end and race.
The rest of the field still getting sorted out. Mark Martin back there in third. His best finish this year has been second down at Dover, Delaware. In this race, don't let anyone else dictate.
Well, there's about a second and a half lead on those first 2 cars over the third place car.
Now the question is, can Terry Labonte contain Darrell?
Terry Labonte has been in a number of the last lap battles here at Talladega, but it's
racing stock car.
Well, I think you'll see him fight here for everything that he's got and trying to win his first race at Talladega.
Remember him in that Busch Clash? Well, I mean, he just doesn't give up. He'll do anything he can now to bring this one home.
You know, there's not a great deal of strategy on his part right now. He's sitting there with his foot to the floorboard, just holding it wide open. There's his crew chief, Tim Brewer, and he's at the mercy. He don't know if Darrell Waltrip has any more or not, so he just sat there and holds his foot to the floor, trying to drive the right line on the racetrack and just take whatever it gives.
White flag this time by, coming down for the final lap, and there's a big interval back to third spot, which is Mark Martin, followed by Ken Schrader fourth, Rick Wilson fifth, Kyle Petty in 6. Here's the story.
It's going to be decided between those two.
White flag is down. Here we go to the side. The 21st annual DieHard 500. Ford and Chevrolet in that ongoing confrontation. Ford out in front. The Junior Johnson car. Terry Labonte out of Texas. Darrell Waltrip looking for his 78th win. Stays right there with him.
I think he'll try to make the move between turns 3 and 4 if he has enough. Let's see if he does. Terry Labonte's going to use that low line.
Pulls away a little.
Halfway around. Darrell Waltrip perhaps backed off to try to build some momentum. As he comes off of turn 4, he's going to try to build enough momentum to grab past him.
Closing. Waltrip moving up as they hit the tri-oval. Coming down. Terry Labonte in front. Waltrip looking for room, about 1,000 feet to go. To the inside comes Waltrip. He's there. They're almost side by side. To the line. Terry Labonte will win for the Junior Johnson crew. He did it for Mom. Said at the start, he'd won it for his mother, and by George, he did it. I'm sorry, Terry Labonte won it. That is his 9th win, and into 2nd was Darrell Waltrip at the finish, almost doing it. So, Terry Labonte wins for the first time here. Darrell Waltrip comes home in 2nd, and Mark Martin in 3rd.
I remember at Talladega 500 that you and Darrell Waltrip came side by side to the flag, and Ron Bouchard snuck around the outside and beat you both. And today, your turn.
I know it finally. You know, I've came close so many times down here and just never have got there. You know, the car just ran super. Darrell was awful tough. I was really concerned with him at the finish, but we were able to hold him off.
You and Junior Johnson seem to really have these restrictor plate races figured out.
Well, we've run awful well with them. You know, we had a good run down here the first race, and we've been working at it. The guys at the shop really been putting in a lot of overtime trying to get it figured out, and they've done a good job.
Okay. Thank you. Terry Labonte in victory lane here at Talladega.
Quick question to Darrell Waltrip on his finish. Darrell made a run at him. Well, praise the Lord for a safe race. Hi, Mom, and yeah, the Tide Chevrolet was really coming. But the restart with that few laps to go, I had to stay behind Terry to get away from everybody else. I didn't want to race with nobody else. I thought I might have a little something for him, everything, but he was just too strong for me. My congratulations to him, and that we may have moved up a little in the points today, though. That's interesting. Thank you, Darrell. Congratulations back to Ken Squire.
Final standings, Terry Labonte wins it. Darrell Waltrip is in 2nd. Mark Martin comes across 3rd. Ken Schrader 4th. And Rick Wilson finishes a good, strong 5th. In the 2nd 5 to the line this afternoon. 6th today was Morgan Shepherd. 7th for Kyle Petty. Harry Gannon 8th. Davey Allison in 9th. And Dale Earnhardt came home in 10th position in this 21st running of the DieHard 500. And so for Ned Jarrett, Chris Economaki, Mike Joy, and Dave Despain, I'm Ken Squire saying so long from the Talladega Speedway. Coming up next, the PGA Tour continues with final round coverage of the Buick Open. The 1989 DieHard 500 has been a presentation of CBS Sports.